Chapter 909. This person was the bodyguard captain of the Jade Well Trading Company. He had committed multiple raping cases in the border city and was wanted by the Department of Investigation. He escaped here and concealed his identity. I know this person. Another transcendent realm cultivator crossed his arms and sneered mockingly. I remember his surname is Jiang. He escaped from Qingyang town and claimed to be a master. In the end, Miss Yunxiu gave him the identity of a handyman. Master Mies. He's always worried about Miss Yunxiu's assessment, so he could only escape. Another bodyguard sneered. During this time, Jiang Tian's deeds had spread throughout the Jade Well Trading Company and he had become the biggest joke. He claimed to go to the Blackwater Lake to hunt monsters, but he was disheartened and gained nothing. He didn't even dare to come back to see Chu Yunxiu, for fear that his disguise as a master would be exposed and he would be severely punished. Master, aren't you a master? Come and kowtow to Grandpa. You must be able to break the floor. A bodyguard sneered. Are you done? Jiang Tian approached slowly. Do you want to kowtow? Make it louder. My ears aren't very good. The bodyguard dug his ears and smiled triumphantly. In this world, the strong were respected. The strong could freely humiliate the weak. His cultivation wasn't very high and he was often bullied, so he liked to bully the weak to seek balance. Slap. Jiang Tian slapped out with his palm. The transcendent state martial artist was sent flying and smashed into the wall. His body exploded like a tomato. This person was like a fly smashed by a fly swatter. His bones were shattered, and the blurred flesh and blood stuck to the wall and slowly flowed down along the wall. Oh my God, he killed someone. Someone come quickly. The bodyguard captain and several bodyguards were so scared that their legs went soft. They were scared witless and rushed out. Brother Jiang Tian, save my brother and dad. Let's go. This is not our home. Xiao Yingluo felt a sense of security at this time. She pulled Jiang Tian's hand and said with a crying voice. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. That Chu Yunxiu and Huang Zhizhong are trash. What qualifications do they have to force you? Anyone who dares to bully my friends, Kong Teichu, must die. Big brother Jiang, it's better if we don't do it. They outnumber us. Xiao Yingluo was still worried. Besides, they're already here. Let's meet then. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. Xiao Yingluo looked outside and saw Huang Zhizhong walking in with a few strong people. Huang Zhizhong was in his 30s. He looked ordinary and ugly. Moreover, he was very fat and greasy. Looking at Xiao Yingluo holding Jiang Tian's hand, he suddenly burned with jealousy and was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. For the past few days, he had been fawning over her every day and had given her a lot of benefits, but she didn't even let him touch a finger of hers. But now, she was holding the young man's hand. Huang Zhizhong's chubby face twitched as he asked coldly, "Who are you? How dare you recklessly kill people on our Jade Well Peak?" "I'm Xiao Yingluo's brother," Jiang Tian said coldly. "I'm telling you now, this marriage is annulled. From now on, don't harass her and her family. Otherwise die." What? Everyone was in an uproar when they heard this. Xiao Yingluo. Huang Zhizhong's face darkened again. His eyes were bitter and cold as he smiled. "Before this, we already agreed that if you married me, my family would help you settle the city patrol in Tianhuang City. Have you forgotten all this?" "I haven't forgotten," Xiao Yingluo replied. "You haven't forgotten, but now you're breaking off the marriage. Do you think the Huang family is easy to bully? You cast us aside after using us. What do you think the Huang family is? What do you think Jade Well Peak is?" Huang Zhizhong sneered. "I never agreed to the marriage." Xiao Yingluo stood beside Jiang Tian. Her courage increased greatly as she raised her chin slightly and said coquettishly, "Moreover, you haven't settled the border city patrol yet. What right do you have to criticize me?" "Xiao Yingluo." Huang Zhizhong shouted angrily and then grinned. "In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless." He turned to look at a middle-aged man in a black robe behind him and said, "Secretary Wei, I don't care anymore. You can take her as you wish." Only then did everyone notice that the middle-aged man in a black robe was Wang Qingzheng, the secretary of the city patrol in Tianhuang City. Tianhuang City and Demon Cave Mountain had close ties. He was also friends with Chu Yonghui. This time, he came to congratulate Chu Yunxiu. Everyone present couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. They retreated like the tide and consciously made a path for him. This person was more than 2 meters tall and was as majestic as a mountain. He was muscular, bald, and had a devil tattoo on his forehead. His eyes flashed fiercely as he blinked, and his temperament was as domineering as a prehistoric Tyrannosaurus rex. Xiao Yingluo, you killed someone in Xinjiang town, right? And he was a brother of our city patrol. Wang Qingjing stared at Xiao Yingluo like a fierce tiger and said slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but a surge of spiritual pressure hit everyone, making it difficult for them to breathe and involuntarily take a few steps back. Wang Qingjing was a half-step foundation establishment cultivator. He was decisive in killing and exuded a bloodthirsty and cruel aura. That vast and surging spiritual pressure was like a stormy sea, causing people's hearts to palpitate and their bodies to tremble. It was unbearable. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian and Xiao Yingluo would bow their heads and admit defeat. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian stepped forward and said sarcastically, "I killed him, it has nothing to do with her. Isn't it just killing a few dogs? Do you have to be so nervous?" Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a madman. Was this person crazy? This was a half-step foundation establishment cultivator. He was just a handyman, but he dared to challenge him. Wasn't he afraid of being killed by him? "I'll kill you." Wang Qingjing's face turned fierce and was about to attack. "Secretary Wang, please have mercy." There was a delicate shout. Chu Yunxiu, dressed in white and surrounded by a few geniuses, young peak masters, and disciples of aristocratic families, slowly walked over with a cold face. She looked like a high and mighty princess. "Today is my engagement day. You have a grudge against Jiang Tian, but I don't want to see blood. But I'll give Miss Chu face." Wang Qingjing immediately saluted Chu Yunxiu, stared at Jiang Tian gloomily, and retreated to the side. Chu Yunxiu dressed up carefully today. Her eyebrows were light, her face was bright, and her lips were bright red and crystal clear, like cherries that had just been washed. Coupled with her slender waist, tall figure, and jewelry, she really stood out like a crane in a flock of chickens, making all the female cultivators present pale in comparison. She looked at Jiang Tian contemptuously, arrogantly, and disdainfully said, "You have nothing to do with Xiao Yingluo? What right do you have to interfere in this matter? And you killed people on my wedding day. Do you know that I can expel you from Jade Well Peak with one word? I want to interfere in this matter, what can you do? If you're not convinced, do it." Jiang Tian laughed. "Fu." Hearing this, Chu Yunxiu was furious, and her murderous intent rose. But thinking of the engagement today, she didn't want to cause more trouble, so she softened her tone and said gently, "Mr. Jiang, you don't know, but Huang Zhizhong's cultivation is not bad, and he's also quite talented in business. He's a rare young talent. I'm only doing this for the sake of finding a good husband for Xiao Yingluo so that she can have a good life for the rest of her life. Now it seems that you've taken my kindness for granted. You think this fat pig is not bad?" Jiang Tian looked at Huang Zhizhong contemptuously and mocked, "Then why don't you marry him? How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to Chu Yunxiu? Do you know that she's the daughter of a peak master, a noble master on the list of prodigies?" In the surroundings, several hall masters and elders of Jade Well Peak were enraged and roared loudly. "How dare you? How dare you? How dare you be disrespectful to me? It's fine if you're disrespectful to me, but how dare you insult the eldest miss? You deserve to die, you deserve to die." Huang Zhizhong was so angry that his face turned white. He gritted his teeth and wanted to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. Chu Yunxiu's face was also red with anger, and her eyes shot out a sharp light like cold arrows. List of prodigies? Daughter of a peak master? Daughter of a rich family? What kind of trash is that? Jiang Tian looked at Chu Yunxiu disdainfully and smiled unhurriedly. "Chu Yunxiu, do you think you're great? Much better than Xiao Yingluo? In terms of aptitude and talent, You're thousands of miles away from Yingluo. And let me tell you, with me around, how can Yingluo have a small jade well peak in the future? What jade well peak? Speaking of which, it's just a motley crew. It won't amount to anything big. How dare you insult Jade Well Peak? How dare you? Don't you know that the 7 main peaks are connected like a family? At this time, a chuckle was heard. A handsome, noble young master waved his folding fan and walked over slowly, his face full of mockery. If you dare to disrespect Chu Yunxiu, you're offending the 7 main peaks and provoking the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Hurry up and apologize to Miss Chu, or I won't let you go. The son of the Peak Master of Hidden Beauty Peak. First-level foundation establishment powerhouse, 28th on the list of prodigies, Zhao Muyang. Someone exclaimed this person's name and stopped breathing, revealing a deep fear. Who do you think you are, Scram? Jiang Tian looked at him as if he was an ant and didn't bother to look at him. He sneered and waved his hand to scold him. What? This person is crazy. Crazy? Too crazy. Everyone was shocked and in disbelief. You dare to scold me? Zhao Muyang was even more furious. His eyes were cold and murderous. His aura rose and he was about to attack. Forget it, Xiang. Today is Sister Yunxiu's big day. Don't kill anyone here. If you make a scene, even Uncle Jiang will be angry. Next to him, Zhou Huijin, the son of the Peak Master of Chuyun Peak, one of the 7 main peaks, advised while looking coldly at Jiang Tian. Kid, you're too arrogant. Don't just talk. If you're really capable, let's go out and fight. You seem to be a deity realm martial artist. How about I suppress my cultivation to the deity realm? Do you dare to fight with me? Chapter 9-10. You're not qualified for me to make a move, Jiang Tian said with a disdainful smile. What if you include me? Zhao Muyang said angrily. None of you can do it together. Jiang Tian shook his head. What if you include me? Boom. Wang Qingjing was also furious. He took a step forward like a giant god, causing the ground to shake violently. Not enough. Jiang Tian still shook his head. The onlookers were dumbfounded. This kid really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. These people were either half-step to foundation establishment or first-level foundation establishment. They were geniuses. He was just a lowly servant and a god realm martial artist, yet he dared to be so disrespectful and provocative. He was simply courting death. What if you include me? Suddenly, a voice interrupted from behind the crowd. Everyone turned their heads to look and saw a noble young master wearing a golden crown and luxurious clothes. He was about 15 or 16 years old, and he was slowly walking over with a group of people surrounding him. Ding Xiaojie. Why is he here? Someone who knew him exclaimed. Who is he? Someone asked. Although the floor where Jiang Tian was located was not conspicuous, it had already attracted a lot of people who were watching the show. Among them, some were experts who had been hiding for many years, so the news was a bit out of sync. The son of Star Capital City's city lord, Ding Lai. His grandfather was once an elder of the Starry Sky Palace. His uncle is also the Starry Sky Palace's palace lord, Li Longyuan. As soon as these words came out, the whole place became solemn. Star Capital City was a huge city under the Starry Sky Palace, and it was also a huge city that ranked 3rd among the forces. It was second only to Wild Wave City and Floating Spear City. Who didn't know the name of Li Longyuan who lived in this space? It was simply like thunder in their ears. He was like the emperor of this space, high and mighty, with unparalleled power and authority, and his words carried enormous weight. He was also the only golden core in this space. He could move mountains, fill seas, and draw rivers. His magical power was unfathomable, and he completely controlled this space. Even if Ding Xiaojie's cultivation was only at the late stage of qi refining, who would dare to provoke him just because he was the son of the city lord of Star Capital City and Li Longyuan's nephew? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that even the peak masters and the sect masters of small sects would have to give way to him when they saw him. Still not enough. However, in the face of the aggressive Ding Xiaojie, Jiang Tian was still calm and collected. Everyone felt as if they were going numb. Wang Qingjing, Chu Yunxiu, Zhao Muyang, Zhou Huijin, Ding Xiaojie. Each of these people had a higher status than the other, and they all represented a force that couldn't be ignored. Many people shook their heads. This brat was too arrogant. They feared that he would not be able to walk out of Jade Well Peak alive. This was not only a slap to Jade Well Peak's face, but also a slap to the faces of all the major powers. Even if Chu Yunxiu didn't want to kill people at her engagement ceremony, she had to do it this time. As expected, Ding Xiaojie laughed involuntarily and said unhappily, "Chu Yunxiu, is this the ability of your Jade Well Peak? You can't even take care of a servant disciple?" Chu Yunxiu knew that she had to give Ding Xiaojie an explanation. Her face turned cold and she said, "You're courting death. Kill him." Boom. Before the young talents of Demon Cave Mountain could make a move, Wang Qingzheng, who was the most murderous, had already stepped out. He soared into the air like a wild dragon and punched towards Jiang Tian. "Go to hell!" Amidst the angry roar. This punch was incomparably violent. There were streaks of lightning snakes lingering around the fist, and it was enough to shatter a huge boulder of 500 kilograms. This brat is dead for sure." Ding Xiaojie waved his folding fan and smiled as if victory was in his hands. Slap. In response, Jiang Tian's face was calm as water. He only slapped out. Bang. With a muffled sound, Wang Qingzheng's body exploded instantly, turning into a bloody mist that spread out. What? He killed a half-step Foundation Establishment Cultivator with one slap? Is he really a Foundation Establishment Cultivator? Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief, as if she had seen a ghost. "Hey, he's dead?" Ding Xiaojie yelled and his fan fell to the ground. His expression was as if he had eaten a fly. Foundation Establishment Cultivator. Boom. Zhao Muyang and Zhou Huijin's expressions changed drastically. There was unprecedented fear in their eyes and they were fully alert. Immediately, two violent blasts of energy shot to the sky. "What? Do you want to end up like Wang Qingzheng?" Jiang Tian smiled and said, "How dare you? Even if you're a first-level Foundation Establishment Cultivator, this is not a place for you to behave atrociously." Zhao Muyang roared in a threatening manner. Chu Yunxiu raised her slender hand and said coldly, "Jiang Tian, you're not an ordinary person. Jiang, you are indeed extraordinary. You should be in the first layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, right? But this is still not a place for you to behave atrociously. Do you know that there's a top gathering upstairs?" She was full of viciousness. She signaled someone to report and said with disdain, "Even the peak master of Golden Pine Mountain, Jiang Haishan, Goddess Mieu and the city lord of Star Capital City are here. They're all mid-stage Foundation Establishment Cultivators and two of them are fake core cultivators. How many nails do you think you can crush if you're made of iron? They're just a few ants. Tell them to come over. I'd like to see if they dare to provoke me." Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked. Was this person crazy? "Okay, you're indeed arrogant and amazing," Chu Yunxiu said proudly with disdain. "Do you know that the rising Taoist Zhen Yin, who shocked the entire Heavenly Star small world and even killed 4 blue-eyed toads, is about to join the Demon Cave Mountain? As our reinforcements?" Xiao Yingluo laughed. "When did Brother Jiang agree to join the Demon Cave Mountain?" "Stupid girl, what are you laughing at? I haven't taught you a lesson yet." Chu Yunxiu was burning with anger. Her face was cold and her eyes were full of murderous intent. "I'm laughing at your idiot. I'm laughing at your blind eyes. The real person is right in front of you, but you don't recognize him." Xiao Yingluo choked. She had once treated Chu Yunxiu as a respectable and amiable big sister, an idol and someone to rely on. But now, she was thoroughly disappointed in Chu Yunxiu and understood how naive she had been back then. Chu Yunxiu raised her eyebrows and her clear eyes shot out a cold, murderous intent. Her figure flickered and she approached like a ghost, grabbing at Xiao Yingluo's neck. "You dare to offend me? Get lost." Jiang Tian slapped her. Under Jiang Tian's palm, Chu Yunxiu couldn't use any of her secret techniques and was hit solidly. Slap. She fell to the ground like a dead dog, her face covered in blood and her face covered in dirt. Jiang Tian reached out and grabbed, pulling her over. Jiang Tian twisted her slender neck and sneered. So what if I offend you? So what if I kill you? To me, killing you is like slaughtering a dog. Jiang, you'd better let go and apologize to me. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. Let me tell you, someone has already gone to report. My fiancé will be here soon. Those big shots will be here soon. Chu Yunxiu's eyes bulged and her tongue stuck out. She was shocked and angry and made a vague threat. In a hall on the top floor of Jade Well Peak. At the door, there were several experts with stern auras and sharp eagle-like gazes. They were on high alert. Even Jiang Yunhe, Fairy Miao Yi, Ding Lingdang, and the others could only wait outside. There were many soundproof restrictions in this area. In addition, there were 7 or 8 large arrays overlapping and covering the whole hall to block the spiritual detection of strong cultivators. The atmosphere in the hall was solemn. Around a round table, a dozen strong cultivators with extraordinary auras sat. There were men and women, old and young, both monks and laymen. Jiang Haishan and Fairy Mieu were among them. But Mieu's cultivation was only in the middle. The one with the strongest cultivation was actually a middle-aged man with a golden crown on his head. He was dressed luxuriously and had a stern bearing. This person sat in the middle, motionless, but as majestic as a mountain. His aura suppressed the whole hall. This person's cultivation had reached the peak of the false core stage and was only one step away from the golden core stage. The fate of the Starry Sky Palace has reached a critical juncture. The peak master said coldly. Li Longyuan has gone against the tide. He is obstinate and opinionated. He plundered all the sects and cities in the world just to strengthen the Starry Sky Palace. If this continues, there won't be a second golden core in a few hundred years. The expert with the golden crown sitting in the middle was the city lord of Star Capital, Ding Lai. Indeed. Hearing this, Ding Lai's eyes darkened and he said coldly, a few decades ago, there were many sects and schools of thought. Now, only Li Longyuan's voice can be heard in this small world. I've warned him more than once. But he doesn't listen. He even controls all the teleportation arrays and doesn't allow us to communicate with other small worlds. In the long run, we will definitely lose. If there were outsiders here, they would definitely be shocked and in disbelief. No one would have thought that this bustling marriage and the Jade Well Peak's annual meeting were just a facade. In fact, it was a secret meeting to plan a rebellion. No one would have thought that Ding Lai, Li Longyuan's brother-in-law, would be his staunch opponent. Li Longyuan's scouts are everywhere, and he has sent the Feather Guard to closely monitor us. Jiang Haishan slammed the table and said angrily. A few days ago, the sect master of the Blood Refinement sect was exterminated just because he said something bad about him. What kind of peak master and sect master are we? We're even worse than ants. We're taking this opportunity to gather to come up with a plan. When are we going to start the rebellion? Every time we have a meeting, it's just a complaint, but there's no practical action. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He stood up, waved his arms excitedly and roared. You can wait, but I can't wait any longer. The demon beast tide is getting more and more frequent. If we wait any longer, the Heavenly Star Palace will still be fine, but our Demon Cave Mountain will be finished first. When his voice fell, the whole place was silent. Everyone had different expressions. Some were angry, some were puzzled, some sighed, and some lowered their heads in silence. Who doesn't want to overthrow Li Longyuan? But it's difficult. There's still a huge gap in strength. After a long silence, Chu Yonghui, the peak master of the Jade Well Peak, smiled bitterly. Li Longyuan has probably reached the 3rd level of the Golden Core stage. Even if we join hands, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to subdue him. The key is that the Aurora sect, the Giant Sword sect, and a few other giant cities except the Star Capital are all controlled by his disciples. The demon-subduing temple is also a fence-sitter, unreliable. Everyone trembled and was speechless for a long time. Li Longyuan, the strongest person in the Heavenly Star small world, with a lifespan of 300 years, undefeated in 10,000 battles, and no one dared to fight him. No one had the slightest confidence in fighting him. Suddenly, Lady Miyu said, Miyu thinks that there's still a turning point in this battle. What turning point? Ding Lai asked. Daoistchen. When Lady Miyu said this, the entire place turned solemn, and many people revealed shocked expressions. Chapter 9:11. Lady Desireless smiled and said, this person's cultivation is at the early stage of foundation establishment, but he seems to have elixirs and secret techniques that can forcefully increase his combat power. In his best state, his combat power should be comparable to a fake core or even a golden core. Moreover, this person is knowledgeable and meticulous. He's reliable. Could it be the mysterious expert who killed 4 blue-eyed toads in a row? I've heard of him. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they asked. Lady Desireless, you're thinking the same thing as me. Jiang Haishan slapped his thigh and laughed excitedly. I was thinking of making him the mountain lord of Demon Cave Mountain. This way, the 7 main peaks will be unified. Together with Star Capital and Heartless Sect, we'll be able to challenge the Stellar Sky Palace. Suddenly, his expression turned bitter as he shook his head and sighed. However, this person doesn't seem to care about fame and fortune. Since we parted at the Blackwater Lake, I've sent people to search the entire Demon Cave Mountain, but they haven't found any traces of this person. Haha, that's not possible. Ding Lai shook his head in disbelief. I've also heard Ding Lingdang mention this person, but there's never been such a person in the Stellar Sky Domain's big sects. We need to be careful. This person's cultivation is simply unfathomable. I suspect that he might be an expert from other small worlds or even the immortal ruins. Jiang Haishan pondered for a while and suddenly said in a low voice. Just as everyone was whispering to each other, suddenly Jiang Yunhe hurried in and said in a trembling voice, Father, seniors, it's not good. There's a fight below. Bastard, who let you in? Jiang Haishan gave him a big slap. You're so ignorant. Don't you know how important this meeting is? Let him fight if he wants to. No one died. Jiang Yunhe was already used to being beaten. He smiled and said, Father, don't be angry. He killed Wang Qingjing. Even Chu Yunxiu has been captured by him. Yunxiu's cultivation is not bad. How could she be captured? Wang Qingjing was killed. Who did it? Everyone exclaimed and couldn't believe it. Could it be that the news was leaked, and the Stellar Sky Palace's Feather Guard found out and captured Yunxiu to suppress us? Ding Lai's face was solemn as if he was facing a great enemy. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed drastically and they all became alert. Yuna, go down and take a closer look. Keep me informed. Jiang Haishan said loudly. Jiang Yunhe hurriedly left. Everyone, make your preparations. If it's the Feather Guard, I'm afraid we'll have to move forward. Ding Lai's sharp gaze swept across the crowd as he said in a deep voice. Chu Yonghui felt as if he was sitting on pins and needles when he heard that his beloved daughter was being held captive, and that it was possible that the Feather Guard had come to attack. The others also revealed solemn expressions, feeling uneasy. When Jiang Tian grabbed Chu Yunxiu by the throat, everyone was stupefied. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. The entire Jade Well Peak was alarmed. Many armored guards rushed over like a tidal wave. It was a scene of great chaos, with chickens flying and dogs jumping. Oh no! Miss Chu was being held hostage. Requesting backup. Requesting backup. One by one, experts flew over, and a group of guards rushed over. Many bows and magic weapons were aimed at Jiang Tian. Huang Zhizhong shouted, Jiang, let go. The Peak Master will be here soon. Aren't you afraid of death? Immortal Master Jiang, don't be rash. Qiao Yingluo's marriage can still be discussed. Even Qiao Huayin rushed over and tried to persuade him with a sobbing tone. He was scared out of his wits. Jiang Tian could leave with Chu Yunxiu, but where could the Qiao family run? Ding Xiaojie put on the airs of the son of the city lord and snorted arrogantly. Brat, you're too arrogant. There are so many experts here. Even if you're a fake core, they can still tear you to pieces. Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him to the ground. Is the weather very hot? You're still faking it with a fan? Ding Xiaojia's fan fell to the ground. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the ground. As if he had epilepsy, he kept twitching. The whole place was dead silent again. This person was really crazy. He even dared to slap Ding Xiaojia. How dare you beat up a guest of the Demon Cave Mountain? Do you want to be enemies with the Demon Cave Mountain? You'll have a taste of blood and immediately bow down and admit your mistake. Zhao Miang saw this and shouted, "Bastard! Let go of Sister Yunxiu. What kind of person are you to beat up a weak girl? If you have the guts, fight me." Zhou Huijin roared again. Huang Biao rushed over after hearing the news. He puffed out his chest and raised his belly. He threatened sternly, "You're too presumptuous. How dare you kill people, cause trouble, and humiliate a guest here? Do you want to die?" As they shouted, they released a huge pressure that pushed out like a stormy sea. Even a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator would find it difficult to bear. But to Jiang Tian, it was like a gentle breeze brushing his face. He was calm and sneered. "I've never been threatened in my life. Whoever dares to talk nonsense will die." Jiang Tian threw Chu Yunxiu to the ground and used his true core force field to imprison and control her behind him. He flicked his finger. Bang! A golden ray of light pierced through the air and directly pierced through Huang Biao's chest. Huang Biao's chest was badly mutilated. His scream stopped abruptly and he fell to the ground. His eyes were still open, full of shock and unwillingness. It was as if he couldn't believe that he would die in such a miserable way. "Do it! Kill this villain!" Seeing his father killed, Huang Zhizhong's eyes were red. He roared and couldn't wait to tear Jiang Tian into pieces. "Bastard, how dare you disrespect the concealment immortal master? You want to die?" At this moment, a dignified shout was heard. A figure swept over like a gust of wind. Bang! Bam! A large and powerful hand came into close contact with Huang Zhizhong's cheek. Huang Zhizhong flew out like a dead dog for more than 10 meters. He heavily hit the wall and made a muffled sound. His cheek was shattered and his flesh was badly mutilated. He almost fainted. "Yunha, you're here. Hurry up and save me. Kill this villain." When Chu Yunxiu saw Jiang Yunha, it was as if she saw her savior. She shouted loudly, "Bitch, shut your mouth." Jiang Yunha was so scared that his heart almost exploded on the spot. His head buzzed and he almost fainted. He was so angry that his face was red. He almost went crazy on the spot. This is the concealment immortal master. His cultivation is unfathomable. He can even kill a golden core stage demonic beast with a raise of his hand. Even my father and goddess Mieu have to be courteous to him and treat him like a god. However, you actually dared to disrespect him and shout about killing him. Isn't this pushing me into a pit of fire? What did you say? You actually scolded me. I'm your fiancé. Chu Yunxiu's expression was blank. She faintly felt some anger. She felt extremely wronged. After all, today was her engagement day. It was a joyous day. Guests were gathered and the atmosphere was joyous. However, Jiang Yunha actually scolded her in front of everyone. If this spread out, wouldn't she become a laughingstock? So what if I scold you? I still want to hit you. Jiang Yunha's anger rose from his heart. He stepped forward and grabbed her collar with his left hand. His right arm swung high and slapped Chu Yunxiu's pretty face one after another. Slap, slap, slap. The continuous crisp sounds were like firecrackers. They were especially crisp and pleasing to the ear. Slap. Jiang Yunha fiercely slapped her. Chu Yunxiu's delicate, sparkling and translucent face immediately turned red. Several palms could be clearly seen on her face. Slap. Another slap. 2 streams of blood immediately spurted out from Chu Yunxiu's upturned nose. Whoosh! Not only did he slap her, he also used his fist. Bang! After a heavy punch, Chu Yunxiu's clear and beautiful eyes immediately became bloodshot. Her eyeballs almost exploded. "Yunha, don't hit me. Let's talk nicely." Chu Yunxiu was in so much pain that her tears violently flowed. She begged pitifully. Boom! Jiang Yunha didn't say anything. He gnashed his teeth like a mad tiger. A fist like a burning cannonball heavily landed on Chu Yunxiu's flat and soft lower abdomen. It hurts. The veins on Chu Yunxiu's forehead throbbed. Her face twisted in pain. She bent over like a red-hot prawn. Jiang Yunhe fiercely punched again. Wretch. She opened her mouth. The food she ate in the morning was all sprayed out like a water arrow. Yunhe, how can you hit your fiancé? Isn't this a joke to outsiders? Zhao Muyang was stunned. Only now did he react. He went forward to pull her back. You shut up. Slap. Jiang Yunhe threw Chu Yunxiu to one side as if she was trash. He slapped Zhao Muyang's face with the back of his hand. He staggered back. Yunhe, you're crazy. Zhao Muyang was shocked. Clang. Jiang Yunhe kicked his right knee. Crack. Zhao Muyang fell to the ground. His knee was already comminuted. His flesh was lacerated and blood flowed out. Ow 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 ow. It hurt so much. Zhao Muyang was in so much pain that the veins on his neck bulged. The earthworm-like veins on his forehead throbbed crazily. Cold sweat flowed down like a small stream. Dead silence. The whole place was dead silent. Only Zhao Muyang's shrill scream was left. It was extremely ear-piercing. At this time, everyone's faces were lifeless. Cold sweat poured out like water. Their hearts were palpitating. Jiang Yunhe was too crazy. Not only did he beat up his fiancée, he even beat up those who tried to stop the fight. Crazy. Yunhe might be crazy. Maybe his divine sense was damaged from the Blackwater Lake hunting. Quickly go and report to peak leader Jiang. Zhou Huijin's face was filled with worry as he whispered, I'm crazy? I think you're the crazy ones. Jiang Yunhe was so angry that his face was red. His fierce eyes looked around. Like an angry lion, he roared, Do you know who this is? This is Daoist Jin Yin. The Daoist Jin Yin who killed 4 blue-eyed toads at the Blackwater Lake. What? It's actually him. Everyone couldn't believe it. Chu Yunxiu's pretty face changed. Zhou Huijin was dumbstruck. Zhao Muyang's shrill scream came to an abrupt end. At this time, surrounded by everyone, Ding Lai's face was solemn. He walked over with a majestic gait. City Lord Ding is here. Everyone at the scene was shocked. The crowd retreated like the tide, making a path for them. Chu Yunxiu seemed to have seen a turning point. She regained her confidence and pride and mocked, Jiang, you'll never know the background of my Jade Well Peak. Do you see? Even the city lord of Star Capital City is here. After being humiliated like this today, she hated Jiang Tian to the core. She laughed crazily and shouted hysterically, You beat his son. Do you think you'll have a good ending? He's a peak false core stage cultivator. Killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. Everyone nodded, feeling that it was very reasonable. Even if Jiang Tian had a bit of strength, even if he was a false core stage cultivator, even if he was a proud son of heaven. But in terms of cultivation and power, he was still too far away from the city lord of a huge city like Star Capital City. You hit someone else's son, so how could that person let you off? I'm afraid you'll be crushed to pieces. Chapter 9:12. However, what made everyone's jaws drop was, Ding Lai lowered his noble head and bowed deeply. He said respectfully, I am Ding Lai, the city lord of Star Capital City. Greetings, immortal Genin Master. City Lord Ding respects him so much. But instantly, the entire place fell into dead silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one could say a word. It was as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Gold Pine Peak Leader greets immortal Genin Master. Cloud Peak Leader greets immortal Genin Master. Hidden Beauty Peak Leader greets immortal Genin Master. Jade Well Peak Leader Chu Yonghui greets immortal Genin Master. Which of the peak masters did not have a powerful cultivation base, firm methods, and influential figures? But now, they bowed to Jiang Tian respectfully as if they were primary school students meeting their teachers. Heartless Sect Miyu greets immortal Genin Master. Even Heartless Sect leader Miyu, who was a supreme giant, was polite and didn't dare to be arrogant. As for Ding Lingdang and Miao Yi, even if they were powerful, Their seniority was too low. They didn't have the right to greet Jiang Tian. They could only bow behind others and bow to him from afar. What? Seeing this, Chu Yunxiu looked as if she had seen a ghost. She couldn't take it anymore and screamed. Her beautiful eyes almost popped out. She looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. It was as if she had met Jiang Tian for the first time. Immortal Genin Master. For the past few days, this name had resounded like thunder in her ears. It was said that his 9 flying swords pierced through heaven and earth, killed the mosquito beasts by the Black Lake, and killed the blue-eyed toads. Many big shots fought to befriend him. Many people speculated that he was a fake core cultivator or even a golden core cultivator. Such combat power had surpassed the prodigy list and was close to the heavenly law list. Such a cultivation level was enough to establish a sect and be on par with heartless sect leaders and giant sword sect. However, wasn't he just an ant from Earth? Immortal state or foundation establishment level 1 at most. How could he reach such a cultivation level? This didn't make sense. No way. Zhao Miang was so scared that his face turned pale as he stared at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly. Even if his leg was broken, even if the pain was unbearable, he still didn't dare to make a single sound. It's over. Zhou Huijin suddenly covered his mouth, suppressing the scream that was about to burst out. He was so shocked that his soul flew away. Ding Xiaojie stood up. His face was filled with fear as he whispered to his subordinates, "Prepare the aircraft. This place is dangerous, and I can't stay here for long. I'll go home first." You have to give Concealment Master an explanation for this matter. However, he was caught by Ding Lingdang and couldn't escape at all. Many experts in the surroundings were taken aback, unable to believe their eyes. How could this be Daoist Zhening? One was a nobody who came from a small place on the outskirts of Qingyang town and worked as a handyman disciple on Jade Well Peak. One of them was a peerless expert whose name shook the entire small world of the Starry Sky Palace and was on equal footing with the sect master and the city lord. Now that the two identities had miraculously overlapped, it was shocking and made people tremble. Yes, at this moment, Chu Yunxiu's whole body was trembling violently. In her mind, the image of her disrespect and humiliation of Jiang Tian flashed over and over again. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Only Qiao Yingluo stood behind Jiang Tian, the fox assuming the tiger's power, triumphant and proud, her face full of glory. Now you know my big brother Zhang's monstrous strength. Who told you to bully me? Now, are you still going to force Yingluo to marry this fat pig? Jiang Tian looked at Chu Yunxiu with a smile. I don't dare anymore. Chu Yunxiu crawled on the ground, her pretty face pale and her delicate body trembling. She was so regretful that her intestines turned green. She only felt that this was the biggest joke in her life. The dignified concealment master once came to Jade Well Peak to ask for a job, but she actually refused and repeatedly disrespected him, even causing the matter to be in such a situation. Your fiancé is very impressive? Now, what do you think he can do to me? Jiang Tian smiled faintly. You're joking, concealment master. In front of you, I'm not even an ant. Jiang Yunhe's smile was uglier than crying. Slap. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gave him a slap. He scolded, I'm slapping him now. What do you think he can do to me? Is this what you're relying on? It's my honor to be slapped by concealment master. Jiang Yunhe was also a shameless person who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He immediately lowered his voice and said humbly. Moreover, he had been beaten a lot recently, so he was used to it. Chu Yunxiu was speechless. She only felt that her face was slapped loudly, and she was too ashamed to show her face. Previously, she had repeatedly used her fiancé, Jiang Tian, to threaten Jiang Tian. Who knew that in front of Jiang Tian, not to mention Jiang Yunhe, even Jiang Haishan and Ding Lai had to be courteous and treat him with respect. Now that she thought about it, she only felt that she was like a jumping clown, extremely laughable. Concealment Master, we know our wrongs. Concealment Master, please be magnanimous and let us go. And Chu Yong, Hui was already kneeling in fear and begging as if he had seen a god. Qiao Yingluo and Huang Zhizhong's marriage is annulled. Huang Zhizhong is guilty of forcing a marriage. I can clean up the house and execute him immediately. From now on, Yingluo is my adopted daughter. I'll give her 10% of Jade Well Peak's assets. And all the Huang family's assets will belong to her. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Jiang Haishan was indeed an ambitious and ruthless person. He was decisive enough, thorough enough, and also willing to put in a lot of effort. Such generous conditions, such a sincere apology, such a complete surrender, who could refuse? Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would quit while he was ahead and was about to agree. No, it's not enough. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, all the assets of Jade Well Peak belong to Qiao Yingluo. From now on, Chu Yunxiu is Qiao Yingluo's servant. This? Concealment Master, please. Chu Yonghui was slightly taken aback, and a trace of unwillingness flashed in the corner of his eyes. Jade Well Peak was his ancestral business. 5 generations of sages, 300 to 400 years, hundreds of elites, worked their hearts out and suffered countless casualties. Only then were they able to turn a barren mountain into one of the 7 main peaks. Only then were they able to establish the Jade Well Trading Company and establish the illustrious name of the Jade Well Trading Company. Only then were they able to achieve the scale, achievements, and glory of today. Now, he was unwilling to give it all away. Concealment Master, you've gone too far. You've gone too far. Chu Yunxiu screamed even more angrily. Chu Yonghui, you have no right to negotiate with me. Jiang Tian flicked his finger. Bam. You actually destroyed my cultivation. Jiang Haishan's face was pale, and he was in a daze. He only felt his energy center shatter instantly, and the originally vast and surging true essence disappeared in an instant. Not killing you is already merciful. Jiang Tian's face was like an ancient well, and his eyes were cold and ruthless. If you don't want to, then stand up and fight with me. Isn't your Jade Well Peak used to bully the weak? A trace of anger flashed across Chu Yonghui's face, but no matter how unwilling and angry he was, in the end he could only say, I accept. Father. Uncle Jiang. Chu Yunxiu was very angry, and looked pleadingly at Jiang Haishan and Jiang Yunhe. But Jiang Haishan only turned his head away, his face cold and indifferent, and didn't even look at her. The Jiang clan originally looked down on Chu Yunxiu, thinking that she was only qualified to be Jiang Yunhe's concubine. But these words hadn't been spoken yet. Then now, there was no need to talk. The Chu clan that lost Jade Well Peak was basically worthless, and Chu Yonghui that lost his cultivation was even more like an ant. This couldn't be blamed on Jiang Tian. After all, they repeatedly humiliated and offended him, and even wanted to kill Jiang Tian. In addition, the Chu clan father and daughter were obviously opportunists, not firm in their opposition to the Starry Sky Palace, and not doing their best to support the other peaks. When Jiang Yunhe was in danger at Blackwater Lake, he asked Jade Well Peak for help, but the latter didn't have any effective support. Most importantly, Jiang Tian's strength was too strong, and he wasn't someone they could provoke. Surnamed Jiang, you bullied others with your power, and took over a magpie's nest. My Chu clan will definitely get justice for this. Chu Yunxiu's heart was filled with despair, and then she shouted with tears in her eyes. So what if I bullied you? Don't you like to bully others the most? I'll let you understand what it means to bully others with your power. Jiang Tian suddenly slapped her face. This slap directly smashed her cheek into smithereens. If fellow Taoist concealment can become the master of Jade Well Peak, I, Ding Lai, will be the first to support it. City Lord Ding stepped forward, his chest puffed out, and emitted a monstrous aura, majestically sweeping his gaze over the surrounding people. We all support Immortal Concealment Master. Having Immortal Concealment Master overseeing Demon Cave Mountain is a great fortune for the major factions of our main peaks. Jiang Tian and the other peak masters also expressed their support, their faces full of reverence as they looked at Jiang Tian. Jade Well Peak was abandoned by them in the blink of an eye. Seeing this, Chu Yunxiu's entire body was ice cold. No matter how angry or shocked she was, she couldn't help but have a thought in her mind: from now on, I'm afraid no one in the entire Demon Cave Mountain can control him. Immortal Concealment Master, spare my life, I'm just an ant. It doesn't matter if you kill me, but it'll dirty your hands. Just treat me as a fart and let me go. Huang Zhizhong had long been scared out of his wits, tears and mucus flowing down his face. His whole body twitched as he knelt on the ground, madly kowtowing to Jiang Tian. If you didn't speak, I would have forgotten about you. Since Ran Ran spoke, you can go die. With a flick of Jiang Tian's finger, Huang Zhizhong's head exploded cleanly. I'll spare your dog life. After coldly glancing at the ashen-faced Chu Yonghui, Jiang Tian finally moved. Surrounded by several experts, he arrived at the heavily guarded meeting room on the roof. Chapter 9:13. However, it was beyond everyone's expectations that an engagement banquet would end in such a way. It made everyone's jaws drop and they couldn't help but sigh. But immediately, someone in charge announced that today was a joyous day for Jade Well Peak, and a new peak master would be appointed. Brothers, eat and drink to your heart's content. They even invited girls from the Spring Fragrance Brothel to liven things up. Everyone didn't hold back and continued to eat and drink as usual. At the same time, they expressed their shock towards the Concealment Immortal Master. At a banquet in a luxurious banquet hall, Zhou Huijin had a lingering fear in his heart as he sighed. What happened? Isn't Celestial Master Jiang a servant disciple of Jade Well Peak? It's all because of the Peak Masters and my father. Otherwise, what's so great about him? Ding Xiaojie snorted with jealousy in his heart. Originally, he had the highest status among the younger generation in this banquet and was highly respected. However, Jiang Tian had already shocked the entire Demon Cave Mountain and become a figure on par with the city lord. He couldn't help but be jealous. The others didn't say a word and only smiled bitterly. He was the son of the city lord and had the backing of Star Capital's heavenly Star Palace, so he dared to say a few words. However, who would dare to provoke Celestial Master Concealment? Everyone had already seen the consequences of offending Jiang Tian. Even Chu Yonghui's cultivation was destroyed and Wang Qingjing was killed by him. Xiaojie, watch your mouth. We really can't afford to offend Celestial Master Concealment, Ding Lingdang said in a deep voice. At this time, a guard in golden armor quickly walked over and bowed. Young City Lord, the City Lord wants you to go over. Ding Xiaojie's face turned pale. He thought that the matter was over, so he dared to speak so arrogantly. However, he didn't dare to confront Jiang Tian directly. He looked around for help, but the arrogant young peak masters, prodigies, and elites were all silent. They lowered their heads and looked at the table as if there were flowers on it. Sister, help me. Ding Xiaojie was so scared that he was about to cry. He looked at Ding Lingdang pitifully. Don't worry. Celestial Master Concealment is an expert. He won't lower himself to your level. Ding Lingdang smiled and comforted him. He will definitely spare your life. Oh my God, that's too scary. When Ding Xiaojie heard the first half of the sentence, he had already stood up. When he heard the second half, he was so frightened that he sat down on the ground again. He said with tears in his eyes, Sister, help me. Don't you know him? He'll kill me. Young City Lord, don't let the Concealment Master and the City Lord wait for too long. Like an eagle catching a chick, the golden armored guard picked Ding Xiaojie up and walked upstairs. Ding Xiaojie wailed and waved his arms and legs, but he couldn't break free at all. Miss Ding, will Xiaojie be all right? The son of a small sect leader asked with a forced smile. It's not that simple. Ding Lingdang sighed helplessly. The Concealment Immortal Master will definitely not let this go. Huijin, I think you should also be prepared. Zhou Huijin's tears also flowed down. He was in extreme despair. At Jiang Tian's level, he was like a sect master of a giant. His words carried enormous weight, so how could his dignity be offended by others? Perhaps the death penalty could be avoided, but punishment was unavoidable. Ding Xiaojie followed the golden armored guard to the top floor of Jade Well Peak. Jade Well Peak was as luxurious as a first-class sect. At the top floor was a luxurious meeting room. White jade was the hall, gold was the pillars, pearls were the soil, and crystals were the railings. Huge floor-to-ceiling windows were made of large pieces of crystals. Not only were they far more transparent than glass, but they also had spirit chi fluctuations. They could overlook half of Demon Cave Mountain and look at Jin Songfeng from afar. There were only a few people present, and it was completely silent. Ding Xiaojie entered the room and saw his father, Ding Lai, Jiang Haishan, Mie Yu, and many other powerful experts sitting around. Only Jiang Tian had his hands behind his back and was standing by the window with his back facing Ding Xiaojie. He gritted his teeth and moved inside, only to find that Ding Lai was looking at him as if he was going to eat him alive. "Bastard, how dare you offend the concealment master? Hurry up and kneel down and apologize." Ding Lai stood up and shouted angrily. Ding Xiaojie shrunk like a quail and walked in step by step. Ding Lai quickly stepped forward and slapped him in the face. Ding Xiaojie did not dare to resist. He covered his red face and lowered his head, saying in a trembling voice, "Concealment master, I know I was wrong. Please let me go this time." Jiang Tian leisurely turned his head and said indifferently, "Do you still remember what you said to me? Concealment master, please let me go this time. I won't dare to do it again." Ding Xiaojie said while trembling. "Papa." Ding Lai directly kicked Ding Xiaojie's legs and broke them. Ding Xiaojie fell to the ground and screamed. Ding Lai did not even look at him. He raised his hand and said, "Carry him out. Lock him up for a year and let him reflect on his mistakes." After Ding Xiaojie was carried away by a few guards, everyone could finally discuss business. Jiang Haishan smiled and said, "These few days, I have been looking for Master Kong. I didn't expect you to be in Jade Well Peak. This is really a great hermit hiding in the city." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. This time, when he broke through to the second level of Foundation establishment, he did not cause a huge fluctuation in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. His concealment array was also extremely brilliant. How could Jiang Haishan find him? At this moment, Ding Lai smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist concealment, I invited you up because I have something important to discuss with you. Please speak." Jiang Tian nodded slightly. In the cultivation world, broken legs and the like could be quickly repaired with miraculous medicine. When Jiang Haishan broke his son's legs in front of him, he gave him a lot of face. "I wonder what this guy wants to ask of me?" Jiang Tian thought to himself. Concealment master personally killed Taoist graphite. Your cultivation should be at the pseudo-core stage and close to the golden core stage. I wonder if it's true or not. Ding Lai's gaze was as sharp as a knife as he looked at Jiang Tian and asked. Jiang Tian frowned and turned to look at Jiang Haishan. Jiang Haishan was like an old monk in meditation, not saying a word. Desolator smiled bitterly and nodded slightly, meaning that everyone already knew about his achievements. Jiang Tian nodded and said, "That's right. I killed graphite. Although my cultivation hasn't reached the golden core stage, I can fight with those in the early stage of the golden core stage. However, what does my cultivation level have to do with your honor? Can Concealment Master show us?" Ding Lai's gaze was even sharper, like two cold bolts of lightning staring at Jiang Tian. "Sure." Jiang Tian smiled faintly, suddenly stood up, and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd on his waist. With a sound, a sword light shot out like a bolt of lightning into the distance. "Master Kong, this is..." Jiang Haishan stood up and saw that the sword light was heading in the direction of Jin Song Peak. "You talk too much and spread news about me. I'll kill your Jin Song Peak as a warning." Jiang Tian said slowly. "Perhaps Concealment Master doesn't know, but Jin Song Peak has a huge mountain and a protective array is always activated. Even if you're a golden core stage cultivator, I'm afraid you're a little reckless." Ding Lai smiled, not believing that Jiang Tian could cause any damage to Jin Song Peak. Jiang Tian smiled but didn't say anything. That sword light was so fast. In the blink of an eye, Jin Songfeng, which was dozens of kilometers away, seemed to have been hit by a nuclear explosion after a violent flash of golden light. The 1,000-meter-tall mountain at the top was directly swept away and turned into dust. Plop. Jiang Haishan was so scared that he sat on the ground, and then he felt pain in his heart. Although the part of the mountain that Jiang Tian's sword cut was uninhabited, it was mostly used as a storehouse. It was a heavy loss. Gulp. Ding Lai swallowed hard, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Destroying a city with a sword, this was definitely the strength of a golden core stage cultivator. One had to know that this was not an ordinary mountain, but it was protected by dozens of protective arrays. The combat power that Jiang Tian had shown was definitely far more powerful than when he was at the Black Lake. It was comparable to a fake core stage cultivator, or even a golden core stage cultivator. No way! Cultivator Zhen Yinchuan actually broke through in just a few days? Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2? Miyu's eyes were also wide open, as if she was meeting Jiang Tian for the first time. She could see that Jiang Tian's combat power was comparable to a fake core stage cultivator, but his cultivation was only at Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2. But she still found it unbelievable. Because Jiang Tian had broken through another level compared to when he was at the Black Lake. How difficult was it to break through to the Foundation Establishment stage? Even if one was extremely talented and could break through a level in a few years, it was enough to look down on everyone. For someone like Jiang Tian to break through to the next level in just a few days was simply a fantasy story. Not to mention the other peak masters and sect leaders. They were all dumbfounded and couldn't believe it. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they had seen a ghost. They knew that Jiang Tian was very strong, but they didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so strong. Destroying a mountain with a sword, destroying a city with a sword. Before this, they actually didn't agree with Jiang Haishan's thoughts. No matter what, Jiang Tian was just an outsider. Who would be willing to give up the forces that they had worked so hard to establish for nothing? But at this moment, they had to admit that Jiang Haishan's decision was wise. If Jiang Tian became the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain, then Demon Cave Mountain would definitely be as powerful as a dragon, suppressing the entire Heavenly Star small world. Amazing! Fellow Taoist Zhen Yin is amazing. At this moment, Jiang Haishan also came back to his senses. He no longer felt the pain, but his face was filled with ecstasy. He had only lost half of Jin Songfeng. If he followed Jiang Tian, he could earn back 10 or 100 Jin Songfeng in the future. Ding Lai, on the other hand, was already full of reverence and excitement. It seems that immortal Master Zhen Yin's strength is indeed as the legends say. No, it's even stronger than the legends say. Then he bowed deeply, lowered his noble head, cupped his fists, and said with a face full of hope, "Fellow Taoist Zhen Yin, I came this time to invite you to be the leader of the Demon Cave Mountains Volunteer Army." The leader of the Demon Cave Mountains Volunteer Army? What's that? Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. Chapter 9:14. After Ding Lai's introduction, Jiang Tian finally understood what the Demon Cave Mountain Army was all about. Li Longyuan was a rare genius. His cultivation and methods were both very strong, but he was extremely harsh and merciless. In fact, 200 years ago, the Heavenly Star small world was not like this. Instead, it was a place where 100 flowers bloomed and 100 schools of thought contended. Every sect had their own Tao Right temple. They were worshipped by several towns or cities of mortals, and these sects were responsible for their safety. It was like a small country. However, ever since Li Longyuan became the palace master of the Heavenly Star Palace, he had swept through the world, killing heroes and experts, destroying all the major sects and making them vassals of the Heavenly Star Palace. He also burned their cultivation techniques, cut off the inheritances of other sects, collected all the resources and wealth in the world, and gathered them in the Heavenly Star Palace to weaken the people of the world. Then, he occupied the Star Peak Mountain, built the Big Dipper 7 Stars Hall, set up the Heavenly Cycle Star Formation at the foot of the mountain, and built a 1,000-mile star capital. He also had hundreds of Heavenly Tao experts and geniuses serving him, guarding the key points. Li Longyuan thought that he would last for thousands of years and that no one could challenge the Heavenly Star Palace. Starting from 20 years ago, the Heavenly Star Palace collected pollution taxes, breathing taxes, and other exorbitant taxes that were unbearable. Many cultivators, even chi refinement cultivators, could not earn enough crystals to live in the city. They could not afford to buy a residence at all. In this world, the cultivation of spirit grains, spirit herbs, refining, alchemy, talisman manufacturing, and other industries were originally extremely prosperous. But later, because of the heavy annual tribute, all industries were in decline. If one wanted to live, the only way was to become a disciple of the Heavenly Star Palace. If one could not become a disciple of the Heavenly Star Palace, they would have to painstakingly seek a position in the giant city. Even if they were to be a dog patrolling the streets. It was better than being a human. The original Demon Cave Mountain was very desolate because of the flood of demonic beasts. But gradually, the number of people in this illegal land swelled to 1 million. Because the residence here was free, although the spirit chi was mixed with poisonous miasma, it could still be cultivated. The key point was that the Starry Sky Palace thought they were high and mighty. Apart from cultivation, they did not care about anything else. For example, during the monster beast tide, Li Longyuan never sent troops to fight it, so he let the refugees of Demon Cave Mountain bear the brunt of it. In addition, there was also cruel thought control. The Heavenly Star Palace's Feather Robe Guards were a group of cultivators who were skilled in concealment, investigation, and assassination. They were directly responsible to Li Longyuan. It was said that there were tens of thousands of members, and they had many spies in various cities, sects, and even Demon Cave Mountain. These people usually did nothing, even if they killed people on the streets. However, if you dared to say anything bad about Li Longyuan and the Heavenly Star Palace, they would immediately kill you. No matter if you are the city lord or an elder of the sect, no matter how high your status is or how great your contributions are, there is no room for negotiation. Even if it's a kind reminder and suggestion, it won't do. There was only death. Everyone in the Stellar Sky domain felt like they were living in an airtight iron house. It was pitch black, suffocating, and making them feel hopeless. Everyone is in danger. They are jittery at the slightest sound. Every bush and tree is an enemy. Ding Lai's eyes were filled with tears as he spoke with grief and indignation. Great master of concealment, I have a daughter. One day, she saw the tribute minister beating up the commoners who couldn't pay the tribute. She only said one thing: why didn't Li Longyuan do anything about it? She was beaten to death by the Feather Robe Guards on the streets. My father was one of Li Longyuan's teachers. He and Li Longyuan's father were from the same sect. My biological sister was Li Longyuan's Dao companion. My daughter should have called Li Longyuan uncle. But he was still executed. My daughter was only 8 years old. Children's words carry no harm. However, Li Longyuan still killed him. Tell me, is Li Longyuan even human? Alas. Jiang Tian let out a deep sigh. Preventing people from spreading rumors was more important than preventing rivers from spreading. Li Longyuan faced the crisis of the Heavenly Star Palace collapsing, but he didn't have the ability to solve it. He couldn't challenge a stronger civilization. He could only use tyranny and plunder the commoners. Using a huge amount of resources, he forcefully piled up a few golden cores, promoted the level of the small world space, and then moved to other hidden sects' dimensional worlds. But in fact, he was extremely afraid in his heart. He knew what would happen if he plundered so crazily. If the Heavenly Star small world successfully advanced, it would completely solve the crisis. It would be good for you, good for me, and good for everyone. If the lower level exploded before that, it would be beyond redemption. Therefore, he had to suppress it with force. However, monitoring, investigating, and suppressing the commoners would consume more resources, so he had to plunder even more crazily. In this way, it formed a vicious cycle. In this way, it also formed a terrifying binary opposition. The Heavenly Star Palace, led by Li Longyuan, and all the commoners. At present, Li Longyuan's way of playing made the humans of the Heavenly Star small world, from strong people like the City Lord and Sect Master to ordinary people like Qiao Huayin, unable to tolerate it. They were all gnashing their teeth in hatred. The commoners were boiling with resentment. As the saying went, where there was oppression, there would be resistance. What's more, cultivators originally desired to roam the world unrestrained and free. Without freedom, they would rather die. Gradually, Starting from the Demon Cave Mountain, more and more strong people formed a consensus. And if they wanted freedom, Li Longyuan had to die. The Heavenly Star Palace had to be destroyed. The rules of this world had to be changed. Such a world is indeed boring and lifeless. It won't last long. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. Yes, so we want to recommend Master Immortal Jiang as the leader of the Demon Cave Mountains volunteer army. Everyone will rise up and eradicate Li Longyuan. Ding Lai said earnestly. Why me? Jiang Tian laughed involuntarily. Whether it's City Lord Ding or Mieyu, their strength is on par with mine. Moreover, I didn't contribute much. I'm afraid it's difficult to convince the masses. Fellow Taoist Jin Yin, you're too modest. Compared to Master Immortal Jiang, my strength is simply the difference between heaven and earth. Ding Lai smiled bitterly. Even if the battle in the cultivation world involves sects and cities, and there are many people involved, it's still different from a normal battle. Ding Lai said earnestly. For example, our star capital has 100,000 soldiers. Even if they're all transcendent stage internal force martial artists, it's useless against Li Longyuan. He can kill 10,000 people with a single slash. After a dozen slashes, our star capital's army will be completely wiped out. So, there must be a strong person who's on par with Li Longyuan. Jiang Tian nodded slightly after hearing that. That was true. In the cultivation world, even if there were cities and armies, they couldn't withstand the annihilation of top experts. Compared to ordinary people and martial artists, cultivators were already on a different level of life. It was like a nest of ants that couldn't devour an elephant. When an elephant stomps down, a large nest of ants, even thousands of them, will die. Of course, it was also possible. If there were enough ants and they were crazy enough, they could eat an elephant into bones. But that was only a small number. What's more, the Heavenly Palace also had 3 huge cities, Desolate Border, Floating Spear, and Nuteo, which were also heavily guarded. At present, the chances of the rebels of Demon Cave Mountain and Star Capital were very low. It could even be said that their chances of winning were very slim. That was why they hoped that he would kill Li Longyuan first. Only then would they have a chance to defeat the Heavenly Palace and their henchmen. Haha, why should I be with you when I want to kill Li Longyuan? Jiang Tian shook his head in his heart. Making an enemy out of Li Longyuan with great fanfare was too big of a target. Wouldn't it be great if he quietly killed his way into the Heavenly Palace and caught them off guard? He was about to refuse. Ding Lai showed some disdain and snorted coldly. Li Longyuan is too disgusting. I heard that he's thinking about the Earth world. The human race of the Earth world loves peace and has never been aggressive. For thousands of years, they have never thought about the insect world. On the other hand, the other insect worlds have repeatedly sent powerhouses to plunder the Heavenly Star small world and even wanted to completely occupy it, but Li Longyuan didn't dare to fight. That's right. Li Longyuan bullies the weak and fears the strong. He's extremely disgusting. He'd rather be with others than a servant. Jiang Haishan slammed the table and shouted angrily. I heard that he has signed an agreement with the other small worlds and has to pay a lot of heavenly materials every 10 years. If you have the guts, fight with them. But I heard that the Taoist of Qingxian died on Earth. Serves him right. A peak master mocked. Jiang Tian glanced at them deeply. He was sure that these people didn't know that he was from Earth. Chu Yunxiu knew that he was from Earth, but obviously it hadn't reached their top level yet. Otherwise, these old foxes would immediately say that their enemies were the same and that Kong Teichu had no choice at all. Okay, I'll agree. Jiang Tian suddenly said. From now on, Immortal Master Jianin is the master of the Demon Cave Mountain. Jiang Haishan said excitedly. Under the leadership of Immortal Master Jianin, the Demon Cave Mountain will definitely overthrow the tyranny of the Heavenly Star Palace within 20 years. Many people's blood was boiling, treating Jiang Tian as their pillar of support, their savior. 20 years? Aren't you underestimating me too much? Jiang Tian waved his hand and said slowly, I'll kill Li Longyuan within a month. Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. He took a sip of tea and said with a faint smile, and you guys, Prepare yourselves. Whether you take down the Heavenly Star Palace or not is your business. I don't care." The entire place was silent. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. Even if Jiang Tian had a secret technique that could forcibly raise his battle strength, it was impossible for him to kill Li Longyuan within a month. This was because using secret techniques or pills to forcibly raise one's cultivation would result in a serious backlash. Generally speaking, without a year of cultivation and nourishment, one would not be able to recover their original cultivation. Not to mention forcibly raising one's battle strength to the false core or golden core realm. This was an iron law, an unshakable iron law. Jiang Haishan stood up and earnestly advised, "Immortal Master Jin, this matter should not be rushed. It's better to take it slow and stabilize your cultivation first." Jiang Tian was too lazy to explain. He just calmly sipped his tea and smiled without saying a word. "But, Immortal Master Jin, it's a deal." Ding Lai's spirit was greatly aroused. He also stood up and said passionately, "No matter when, as long as you kill Li Longyuan, we will be able to help you in the Heavenly Star Palace. Then we can help you take down the Heavenly Star Small World. At that time, you will be the ruler of this small world." Chapter 9:15. Jiang Haishan and the other peak masters all agreed loudly. They were excited and full of ambition. However, Jiang Tian noticed that Miayu and the other sect masters and city lords did not express their opinions. They just kept silent. It seemed that although these people had elected him as the Demon Cave Mountain Master, they were using him. When the time came, it would be inevitable to fight over who would be the master of this world. It was understandable that Ding Lai agreed with Jiang Tian. He was too anxious to avenge his daughter. However, the others might not be so. However, Jiang Tian's goal had always been to suppress those who had ill intentions towards Earth. This goal was achieved. As for controlling the Heavenly Star Small World and calling it the Tao Ancestor, that might not be the case. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and asked, "By the way, how many teleportation portals are there in the Heavenly Star Small World? Where can they teleport to?" Reporting to Immortal Master Jiang, the current teleportation portals in the Heavenly Star Small World were left behind from ancient times. Ding Lai's expression was humble as he reported to Jiang Tian, "There are actually more than a dozen teleportation portals that teleport to Earth. In addition, there are teleportation portals to the Dragon Gate Dimension World. The Dragon Gate is a secret realm of a Level 3 cultivation hidden sect. It governs a total of 3 small worlds like the Heavenly Star." Dragon Gate? Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. This was the first time he had heard of this name. It seemed that the general situation of the hidden sect world was not known to most people. Only the upper echelons of the Heavenly Star Small World knew. That's right. There are dozens of golden core powerhouses in the Dragon Gate Small World. They are much stronger than the Heavenly Star Small World. Ding Lai gave a brief introduction. "Can't the Heavenly Star Small World be teleported to the ruins of immortality?" Jiang Tian frowned and asked. Jiang Tian's plan was to intimidate the ruins of immortality after suppressing the Heavenly Star Small World. This had been his goal for a long time. According to historical records, 1,000 years ago, the Demon Cave Mountain was actually the cultivation holy land of the Heavenly Star Small World. However, at that time, this place was called the Heavenly God Sect. This place was overflowing with spirit energy, and golden cores were frequently produced. It was the most powerful peerless sect in the Heavenly Star Small World. This sect has a teleportation portal that leads directly to the ruins of immortality. Miayu interrupted. However, 1,000 years ago, a nascent soul stage foreign race expert invaded. It is said that the Heavenly God Sect's master fought for 3 days and 3 nights, but he was no match for him and was heavily injured. Before he died, he could only destroy the teleportation formation leading to the ruins of immortality to cut off the alien race's path to invade the ruins of immortality. Moreover, from that time onwards, the spirit energy environment of the Heavenly God Sect's Tao field rapidly deteriorated. Spirit energy tides and vortexes appeared, poisonous miasma filled the air, and evil spirits bred. It became a life-forbidden zone for cultivators. Mieu revealed a look of deep regret and sighed. After the problem with the spirit energy in this area, very few golden core experts were born. Unfortunately, spirit energy is the foundation of cultivation. Otherwise, it would be like water without a source or a tree without roots. The spirit energy was restricted, and no one could do anything about it. Alien race. What alien race? Devil race, sorcerer race, or demon race? Jiang Tian's heart stirred slightly. It seemed that this small world's gravity simulation, spirit energy circulation, and other large arrays were not naturally damaged, but destroyed by the heavenly god Sex Master. To be able to force the heavenly god Sex Master, who was at the nascent soul stage, to destroy the teleportation portal at the expense of the stellar sky domain's spirit energy and cut off the alien race expert's path of invasion, it could be seen how powerful he was. This history is too long ago, and many records have been lost in the long river of history. Only bits and pieces are left. Mieu also does not know. Mieu shook his head, and then a trace of seriousness appeared on his face. However, I have read many records, and I always feel that the witnesses of this world are very afraid of the so-called alien race and are not even willing to mention it. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. An existence that could make the heavenly god Sex Master not hesitate to destroy the path of millions of people to intercept must be abnormally powerful and could even threaten the safety of the ruins of immortality. At this time, Jiang Haishan said, it is said that the great demon Bai Zhe was the heavenly god Sex Master's pet. The core of the spirit energy vortex in the Devil Cave Mountain, Red Thunder Mountain, was the heavenly god Sex training ground. I see. What is the cultivation of the great demon Bai Zhe? Jiang Tian nodded. The great demon Bai Zhe lived for thousands of years and obtained the inheritance of the heavenly god Sex Master. Back then, the Stellar Sky Palace was established by him. At that time, his cultivation was probably far beyond the Golden Core, and he was either at the nascent soul stage or nascent soul stage. Mieu said, there is such a thing. The Stellar Sky Palace was actually established by the great demon Bai Zhe. When everyone heard this secret, their faces were very shocked, and they exclaimed in disbelief. They had never thought that the Stellar Sky Palace, a so-called righteous sect, was actually established by the ferocious great demon Bai Zhe. This was really unbelievable. One had to know that in many legends, the great demon Bai Zhe could swallow a huge sect in one gulp, and every time he ate, he would eat 100,000 people. It was simply murderous, extremely vicious, and made people tremble in fear. From the fall of the heavenly god Sex Master 1,000 years ago to the rise of Li Longyuan 200 years ago, this long 800 years, this world belonged to the great demon Bai Zhe. Mieu showed a trace of disdain and snorted coldly. 300 years ago, Li Longyuan was only the deputy sect master at that time, and he had a conflict with the great demon Bai Zhe. I don't know what method he used, but he seriously injured the great demon and ascended to the position of palace master. Why haven't we heard of it? Everyone felt as if they were listening to a book from heaven. We are not people of that era, Mieu said lightly. Besides, Li Longyuan conquered the city 200 years ago, and after obtaining this land, he wantonly killed those who knew about it and burned the books. In the end, very few records were passed down. I also accidentally read some of the Grandmaster's personal notes, and only then did I know the truth. Is the great demon Bai Zhe still alive now? Jiang Tian asked. After the great demon Bai Zhe was injured, he fled to the Demon Cave Mountain and disappeared without a trace, never to appear again. Li Longyuan had searched many times, but there were no clues. I don't know if he is dead or alive, Mieu said. I also have some spies in the demon race. Suddenly, Jiang Haishan's face showed a look of fear, and he said in a deep voice. They said that they once saw a young and handsome Taoist who claimed to be the great demon Bai Zhe, and began to gather his old subordinates, secretly plotting something big. I don't know if it's true or not. As soon as these words came out, there was a dead silence. The great demon Bai Zhe is really born? Many people's faces changed wildly, and cold sweat instantly climbed up their backs, extremely anxious and anxious. In fact, the news of the great demon Bai Zai's birth had been circulating for some time. But many times, everyone thought that it was a rumor or groundless fear, and did not believe it too much. But since Jiang Haishan said so, there was a very high possibility. The Crimson Thunder Mountain was located in the center of the Demon Cave Mountain. If the great demon Bai Zai was born, it would definitely cause chaos in the world, killing people and causing blood to flow for thousands of miles. The Demon Cave Mountain would bear the brunt, so wouldn't it suffer? Bai Zai was a nascent soul stage demon beast, and even a nascent soul stage demon beast. It could smash the Demon Cave Mountain with a few slaps. So, everyone, we really can't wait any longer, Jiang Haishan said with a solemn expression, as if he was facing a great enemy. If the great demon Bai Zai is born, coupled with the heavenly star palace, we will really be attacked from both sides and be trampled on. A nascent soul stage great demon as a mount is not bad at all. Suddenly, Jiang Tian's face was calm as he whispered calmly, "What? Immortal Master Jiang, don't scare me. I can't be scared now." When Jiang Haishan heard that, he felt as if he had been stabbed. His heart contracted, and his expression was constipated. "Ha, Immortal Master Jiang is really domineering. You actually want to use a nascent soul stage demon beast as a mount. However, relying on pills or secret techniques to forcefully raise your cultivation is very harmful to your body. You still have to rest for a period of time to prepare for the shocking battle with old Thief Li." Ding Lai laughed heartily, obviously taking Jiang Tian's words as a joke. Mie Yu also smiled faintly. At this time, Li Longyuan was already an enemy that was difficult to shake. Of course, it was not good to make more enemies. In fact, this meeting was just to take a general plan to test each other's intentions and bottom line. Because no one believed that Jiang Tian could kill Li Longyuan in a month. The matter was basically agreed, and the meeting was immediately adjourned. Jiang Haishan ordered that no one was to say a word about the great changes in Jade Well Peak. Otherwise, they would be killed on the spot. In addition, Ding Lai suggested that everyone pick the best heavenly treasures and earthly treasures, especially those great medicines that could heal injuries, and give them to Jiang Tian. This would allow Jiang Tian to recover the cultivation that he had lost due to using a secret technique to forcefully raise his combat strength. Everyone patted their chests and promised that no problem. In the future, Immortal Master Jiang would be the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain, their big brother and leader. How could they not be filial to him? Jiang Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He thought to himself, "When did I lose any cultivation? Which eye of yours saw my cultivation being weakened or suppressed?" But seeing everyone so enthusiastic, Jiang Tian could not refuse and could only accept and thank them. When everyone was leaving, Jiang Tian took out a dozen crystal talismans and said with a smile, "Everyone, no discord, no concord. From now on we are brothers. These are the protective talismans I made for everyone. They can block 10 full-strength attacks from a fake core stage expert. Consider it a gift from me to everyone." These crystal talismans were covered with mysterious runes and patterns. Although the carvings were very new, they were simple and ancient, as if they had passed through thousands of years. Moreover, there was a natural charm to them, as if they could harmonize with heaven and earth. It was very extraordinary. Immortal Master Concealment, I didn't expect you to be a talisman master, or even a talisman grandmaster. Everyone was knowledgeable. With just a glance, they were all astonished. They cried out as they looked at Jiang Tian with admiration. This protective talisman is made of the most ordinary 5-essence crystal stone, but it is very powerful. It is no longer an ordinary crystal talisman, but a talisman treasure. Chapter 9:16. Talismans were also a major field of study in the cultivation world. It was not inferior to weapon forging, array formations, and alchemy. Moreover, talismans could be said to be the foundation of weapon forging and array formations. The Dao patterns and array formations on Dharma treasures were actually based on the study of talismans. In the cultivation world, Talisman experts could be divided into talisman masters, and talisman grandmasters. There were also higher levels such as talisman kings, talisman emperors, talisman immortals, and even higher levels. However, in the Heavenly Star Palace, talisman experts were basically all at the level of talisman masters. However, Jiang Tian could actually inscribe a crystal talisman that could withstand the attack of a fake core expert. This was clearly the strength of a talisman grandmaster or even a talisman king. Ding Lai was also an experienced and knowledgeable person. However, he had never seen such a powerful crystal talisman in the Heavenly Star small world. He had only seen similar crystal talismans a few decades ago when he traveled to the small world of the Level 3 hidden sect Dragon Gate. Even in the Immortal Ruins world, crystal talismans of this level were very rare and priceless. The jade talismans that Jiang Tian casually gave to everyone could be treated as family heirlooms. Yes, these talismans are really extraordinary. If we sell them, we'll make a fortune. Jiang Haishan rubbed the talisman excitedly and chuckled. Haishan, you've become muddle-headed from wanting to make a fortune. How slow is it to make money selling crystal talismans? Rob the Heavenly Star Palace and take Li Longyuan's life. That's the way to make a fortune. Ding Lai also took a crystal talisman and mocked. Everyone burst into laughter when they heard that. They were full of pride. Immortal Master Jiang, this is the peak master of Jishui Peak, Wu Xiuda. He's also Wu Tenggang's father. Suddenly, Jiang Haishan pointed at a thin and emaciated man. He was full of sympathy and self-blame. Sigh, it's all that Trash Yunha's fault. He was so stupid that he insisted on hunting the blue-eyed toads. In the end, he encountered the mosquito tide and harmed Wu Tenggang instead. Wu Xiuda was indeed a formidable figure. Although his heart ached, he forced a smile and cupped his fists respectfully. Greetings, Immortal Master Jiang. Jiang Tian nodded. Wu Xiuda continued, Peak Master Jiang, you can't blame Yunha for this. It's all his fault for not being skilled enough. It's also that mosquito beast's fault for being too cruel. Jiang Tian had long considered killing Wu Xiuda. After all, the grudge of killing one's son was irreconcilable. Just like Qin Zhong of the martial arts family in Yanjing, he had endured for several years in order to avenge his son. It was only when the Taoist of Qingxian arrived that he revealed his true colors. Perhaps Wu Xiuda would seek revenge after finding out about it, or even side with the Heavenly Star Palace's palace master Li Longyuan. However, Jiang Tian's words were clearly telling Jiang Tian that Wu Xiuda did not know the truth and that there was no need to kill him. Seeing this, Jiang Tian felt that there was no need to make a move. After all, this person still had some value. I've seen your son before. He's fiery, straightforward, and domineering. Dying in the beast tide is truly regrettable. Jiang Tian walked up to Wu Xiuda and handed him a crystal talisman. He said regretfully, however, this person has already passed away, and it's a crucial moment in the battle against the Heavenly Star Palace. You must restrain your grief and take care of yourself. Thank you for the treasure, Mountain Lord Jiang. Don't worry, this subordinate will definitely raise his spirits and not disappoint you. Wu Xiuda was so moved that tears filled his eyes. He lowered his head and bowed. Jiang Tian helped him up and comforted him. Everyone bid farewell to each other and said their goodbyes. Other than Priestess Desireless, who had important matters to discuss with Jiang Tian, the others left Jade Well Peak with their subordinates. After leaving Jade Well Peak, the group of heroes did not return directly. Instead, they concealed their identities and gathered at the Spring Fragrance Pavilion on Mission Hall Mountain. After Jiang Haishan set up a few restrictions to isolate divine sense and sound waves, he sat down and turned to look at Ding Lai. He turned to Ding Lai and said, City Lord Ding, if not for your last words, I think Immortal Master Jiang might not have agreed to be the Mountain Lord of Demon Cave Mountain. Peak Lord Jiang, what words? I said a lot today. My throat and eyes are smoking. Ding Lai took a big sip of tea and asked, The words about Earth? That's strange. Jiang Haishan said with a strange expression. So, Immortal Master Concealment actually thinks highly of our attitude toward Earth? Ding Lai asked in surprise. Everyone fell silent and had strange expressions. That's right. Previously, everyone had guessed that Jiang Tian should be from a higher-level small world of the hidden sex, so they did not ask much. Then why should he pay attention to Earth? Suddenly, a peak lord said with a smile, "Immortal master concealment can't be from Earth, right? How is that possible?" Ding Lai shook his head and said decisively, "The cultivation techniques of Earth are very inferior and crude. The humans of Earth want to enter the Tao through martial arts. It's like looking for fish from a tree. There hasn't been a single foundation establishment powerhouse in hundreds of years." He pondered for a while and said seriously, "Moreover, immortal master concealment's techniques are pure cultivation techniques, not battle techniques or martial arts. So, there's no way he's from Earth. There are no real cultivators on Earth. If he's from Earth, then we're done for. He won't be able to withstand a single blow." A city lord and a sect leader said with a smile. "That's right. Demon Cave Mountain is a waste of time following him." A peak lord said with a smile. "Don't talk nonsense. He's from Earth? That's just groundless fear. Let's drink." Everyone clamored and discussed, once again expressing their shock at Jiang Tian's strength. Among the crowd, only Wu Xiaoda's expression was cold and solemn. He observed everyone without saying a word. No one knew what he was thinking. Lady Desireless Desire did not leave with everyone. Jiang Tian knew that she must have something important to discuss, so he dismissed her and left her alone in the hall. She bowed respectfully to Jiang Tian and said, "Immortal Master Concealment, I have something to discuss with you." Jiang Tian smiled and said, "I wonder what Senior Desireless Desire wants to talk to me in private?" Lady Desireless Desire called Fairy Miao Yi in and said with a smile, "Miao Yi, make tea for young Master Jiang." Miao Yi's face was slightly red. She elegantly poured a cup of tea and held it in front of Jiang Tian with both hands. She squatted slightly and bowed. She said gently, "Young Master Jiang, please have some tea." She was originally a beautiful woman, and now that she was behaving in a proper manner, she was submissive and gentle like water. Any man who saw her would be tempted. After coming to the cultivation world, Jiang Tian had been called Big Brother, Immortal Master, and even Jiang, Pervert, Bitch, and Ant. However, this was the first time he was called Young Master. "Thank you, fellow Taoist Miao Yi." Jiang Tian took the tea and was slightly moved. "Senior Desireless Desire, please." Jiang Tian had been cultivating for 10,000 years. He instantly understood Lady Desireless Desire's intention. He smiled bitterly and was about to explain. Unexpectedly, Lady Desireless Desire spoke first. She smiled and said, "I heard that Immortal Master Jiang is an itinerant cultivator. What do you think of the Heartless sect?" "Senior Desireless Desire, although I haven't been in this world for long, I know that the Heartless sect is a righteous sect. Not only are your cultivation techniques extraordinary, but you also have many experts. You also help those in need and never bully the weak." "I agree with you very much," Jiang Tian said calmly. "Fellow Taoist Concealment, you are flattering me. However, the Heartless sect is indeed a righteous sect." Lady Desireless Desire's eyes lit up. She said happily and enthusiastically, "Then, Immortal Master Jiang, how about joining the Heartless sect? I remember that your sect only accepts female disciples." "That's not bad." Lady Desireless Desire smiled. "Immortal Master Jiang, as long as you marry a disciple of the Heartless sect, you can join the Heartless sect." Ting. Fairy Miao Yi's pretty face immediately turned red. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and she looked at Jiang Tian with her big, watery eyes, full of pity and desire. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly and shook his head. He hurriedly said, "Senior Desireless Desire, fellow Taoist Miao Yi, to be honest, I already have a wife. Moreover, our relationship is very deep. I won't let her down." Fairy Miao Yi's delicate body trembled slightly when she heard that. Her clear, beautiful eyes dimmed instantly, and her pretty face turned as pale as paper. Lady Desireless Desire also looked a little disappointed. She glanced at Miao Yi and said, "Immortal Master Jiang, this is not a problem. It's not strange for a cultivator to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Not to mention immortal master concealment, who is an expert who can shake the heavenly star small world. She complimented him. Miao Yi is my personal disciple. Her character is impeccable and her physique is special. Her talent is top-notch. She is only 19 years old, but she has already reached the 4th level of foundation establishment. Not to mention my heartless sect, even among the female cultivators in the entire heavenly star small world, she can be said to be an outstanding talent, a dragon among men. As my personal disciple, she will definitely inherit my mantle in the future. She will be the leader of the heartless sect in the future. If Immortal Master Jiang wants to control the heavenly star small world, you will definitely need a few firm supporters. With Miao Yi and the heartless sect as your backing, you will get twice the result with half the effort. A look of pity appeared on her face. She sighed deeply. Moreover, Miao Yi's parents died early. She is alone and has a pitiful background. She has always wanted to have a family, and she is also very serious about her relationship. If you marry her, she will definitely serve and assist you wholeheartedly. At this moment, Fairy Miao Yi was already looking at Jiang Tian with tears in her eyes. She was yearning, pleading, and helpless. It was as if 10,000 years had passed. Her emotions were complicated, but she tried her best to hold back her tears. She was so nervous that she clenched her fists tightly, and her nails dug deep into the flesh of her palms. Since she was born, she had been engrossed in cultivation and did not ask about the mortal world. She had not even seen many men. The first time she went down the mountain to train, she was invited by Ding Lingdang to kill the blue-eyed toads at the Blackwater Lake. At the foot of Jade Well Peak, she met Jiang Tian, who was selling her the mugwort leaf torches. Then she met Jiang Tian again at the Blackwater Lake and saw Jiang Tian kill the blue-eyed toads. The time they met was very short, but Jiang Tian's appearance had been deeply imprinted in her mind. Love at first sight, deep love at second sight. This was exactly what it meant to be passionately devoted to love. Especially when Jiang Tian saved her and her disciple, it made her admire Jiang Tian to the extreme. She decided that in this life, she would not marry anyone but Jiang Tian. However, she was too thin-skinned and had no experience in relationships. She did not know how to get close to and please Jiang Tian and make Jiang Tian like her. Moreover, she was clever and astute. She sensed that Ding Lingdang was also very fond of Jiang Tian, which made her feel even more threatened and anxious. In a moment of desperation, she used the stupidest and most direct method. Let Master propose marriage. But this was already the best this innocent girl could do. At this moment, she felt like a prisoner waiting for Jiang Tian's sentence. Her heart was in her throat. Chapter 9:17. Jiang Tian took a deep look at Fairy Miao Yi. To be honest, he had a good impression of Fairy Miao Yi. Moreover, Jiang Tian could see that Fairy Miao Yi had an innate spiritual body, an extremely rare and powerful green with spiritual body. However, Jiang Tian was very serious about relationships. He only had Qing'er in his heart. How could he marry another woman? Even if Empress Fuyao was alive, even if she was a real fairy or goddess, Jiang Tian would not take a second look at her. However, Lady Annihilator had good intentions, and Miao Yi was also sincere. Jiang Tian did not want to hurt them, so he quickly bowed and said sincerely and solemnly, "Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your love." This junior is very touched and terrified. However, I cannot force my feelings. Junior's wife's kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain and as deep as the sea. No matter what, I can't let her down. Fairy Miao Yi's face instantly turned as pale as paper. 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks and landed on the ground, crystal clear like morning dew. Although she felt that the marriage proposal was a little abrupt, she was actually quite confident. After all, her qualifications were there. Even the Taoist of Qingxian had once pursued her. However, Jiang Tian had rejected her so clearly and firmly. The blow to her was self-evident. It could even be said that no girl would be able to withstand such a blow. Lady Annihilator also revealed a look of disappointment. She felt that Jiang Tian was too stubborn. The smile on her face also disappeared. She said coldly, "Immortal Master Jiang, you are too stubborn. This marriage not only involves you and Miao Yi, but also the alliance of the Demon Cave Mountain and the Heartless Sect. Now, the Star Capital, the Demon Cave Mountain, and the Heartless Sect have formed a tripartite balance of power. Do you think that you alone, a mere second-level foundation establishment cultivator, will be a match for Li Longyuan from the Heavenly Star Palace? Even with Ding Lai's help, will you be a match for them?" Jiang Tian's face darkened slightly. However, after thinking about it, it was normal for Lady Annihilator to act up in such a situation. To put it bluntly, in terms of feelings, Lady Desolation treated Fairy Miao Yi as her daughter. Goddess Miao Yi was the fruit of her blood, sweat, and tears that she had spent over 10 years to nurture. By denying Goddess Miao Yi, Jiang Tian had indirectly denied her, and even the entire Heartless Sect. "Senior Desolator, you seem to have made a mistake." However, Jiang Tian's voice also turned cold as he said solemnly, "It was you who wanted to deal with Li Longyuan and asked for my help. Why am I begging you for help now? Besides, I've never been weaker than anyone in my life. I've never relied on others for protection, let alone a group of women. Immortal Master Jiang, aren't you going too far? Even if you don't agree, you don't have to be so harsh." Miaoyu frowned and flew into a rage. But at this moment, Fairy Miao Yi said coldly, "Forget it, Master. I don't want to be someone's concubine. I don't agree to this marriage." Demonic Desire was slightly taken aback as he looked at his disciple in surprise. Miao Yi had made it clear that she didn't care if Jiang Tian was married or not. As long as she could follow Jiang Tian, she didn't care about her status. But soon, she understood that this was because Jiang Tian had clearly rejected the marriage. Miao Yi was a proud and arrogant person, so she could only express her stance in this way. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing for her. "Since Miao Yi doesn't agree, let's drop the matter. Immortal Master Jiang, just pretend that I never said this." Miaoyu's face was as cold as ice. He stood up and left. Miao Yi's eyes were misty. She didn't look at Jiang Tian again and also stood up to leave. After leaving Jade Well Peak, Miaoyu didn't return to the sect immediately. Instead, he stepped on his flying sword and rushed towards Star Capital like a meteor. "Master, why are you going to Star Capital?" Miao Yi caught up with Miaoyu and asked, panting. "I want to withdraw from the Revolutionary Alliance." Miaoyu said coldly, "This immortal master concealment is so arrogant. How dare he not give me face? I want to show him how he can defeat Li Longyuan without me. Master, Immortal Master Jiang and I are just in a relationship. How can it affect such a big matter? This is too childish." Miao Yi was anxious. She didn't want Jiang Tian to be taken advantage of. "I've made up my mind. Stop talking nonsense and return to the sect immediately." Miaoyu's face was as cold as ice. His flying sword suddenly accelerated and left Miao Yi far behind. Soon, Miaoyu arrived at Star Capital and saw the city lord, Ding Lai. "Ding Lai, I want to withdraw from the Revolutionary Alliance." Miaoyu said coldly without hesitation. "What? Senior Miaoyu, why? Is there something wrong with me?" Ding Lai's face changed drastically. He was so shocked that he jumped up from his chair. Miaoyu was a fake core cultivator and an important trump card of the Revolutionary Alliance. He wasn't inferior to Jiang Tian. They had a good discussion. Now that she suddenly withdrew, Ding Lai was stunned. "It has nothing to do with you. We monks are originally outsiders. It's better not to get involved in worldly affairs." Miaoyu said mockingly. "But isn't it because Zhen Yin didn't give me face? I'd like to see how long he can be so stubborn." She believed that Jiang Tian would definitely regret it and come crying and begging her, Miao Yi. Even if he forcefully raised his cultivation level, how could he be Li Longyuan's match? What a fool's dream. But Ding Lai wanted to say something but stopped. He looked very troubled. "Don't worry. I'll stay out of it and not help either side. I won't tell the Starry Palace about your secret plans." Miaoyu said mockingly. "However, I have to remind you. That Jiang guy's real cultivation level is only at the second level of foundation establishment. Every time Zhen Yin uses his cultivation level, his true essence will increase crazily. Ding Lai was slightly moved. He then regained his composure and said lightly, "But immortal Master Jiang can kill the blue-eyed toad and break a mountain with a sword." Miayu had already considered this point and said with slight disdain, "In this world, there are many pills that can quickly increase one's cultivation level, such as the explosive energy pill, furious heart powder, and so on. This kind of pill is extremely harmful. He can't take it a second time for at least 3 years, and his cultivation level will drop to the second level of foundation establishment. Senior, do you think immortal Master Zhen Yin took this kind of pill?" Ding Lai's heart suddenly sank and fell into the abyss. His face instantly turned pale. "It's very possible. In short, I want to withdraw. Please inform the others. You have to think carefully about what you should do," Miayu said disdainfully. He ignored Ding Lai and stepped on his flying sword, soaring into the sky. "Dad, what should we do?" Ding Lingdang went from the inner room to the living room and frowned. "It's very troublesome. Without the Heartless sect, we have little chance of winning with just immortal Master Jiang." Ding Lai was in a terrible fix. "Then what should we do? Do we also have to withdraw? Then only immortal Master Jiang and Demon Cave Mountain are left." Ding Lingdang asked. "Demon Cave Mountain? I'm afraid it's very troublesome. Immortal Master Jiang killed Ji Shuifeng's Wu Tengying. Wu Xiaoda will find out sooner or later, and he's not that forgiving." Ding Lai mumbled to himself with a worried expression. Ding Lingdang also felt very troubled. Suddenly, Ding Lai frowned and asked, "Girl, if you were in charge of this, what would you do?" "I don't care what others do. We have to kill Li Longyuan to avenge our sister." Ding Lingdang straightened her body and gritted her teeth. Besides, Li Longyuan is a perverse person with no benevolence. Without him, the Heavenly Star small world wouldn't be like this. Whether it's for public or private reasons, the Ding family must fight Li Longyuan to the death. "We have to fight, but we still have to think about strategy." Ding Lai smiled bitterly and frowned. "Immortal Master Jiang is extremely talented, but he's too young. He's only at the second level of foundation establishment. If we wait another 10 years, he'll have a 50% chance of killing Li Longyuan. This matter needs to be discussed at length. Right, I have to go to Jade Well Peak and talk to immortal Master Jiang. Prepare the flying device." At this time, Jiang Tian's voice suddenly sounded out of nowhere. "Don't come. I already know the situation. It's immortal Master Jiang?" Ding Lai looked around in disbelief. He was stunned for a few seconds before he realized that it was the protective crystal talisman Jiang Tian had given him. He took out the crystal talisman and clicked his tongue in wonder. "This is too amazing. Master Kang's crystal talisman is so small, but it has 2 functions, protection and sound transmission." Miayu has already informed the other peak masters. Now that their morale is low, I'm afraid that apart from Jade Well Peak, only Jin Songfeng's family can still fight. Jiang Tian's voice came unhurriedly. "Then what should we do?" Ding Lai's expression changed drastically as he panicked. "Fight," Jiang Tian said concisely. "Are we really going to fight?" Ding Lai was at a loss, his hands trembling slightly. "I'm not afraid of a mere Li Longyuan." Jiang Tian's calm voice was filled with great confidence as he said indifferently, "I will start from the border city and push all the way to the Heavenly Star Palace. Don't make a fuss and don't raise the flag of rebellion. Just prepare to take over the Heavenly Star Palace." "What? You actually want to take over the city? Immortal Master Jiang, should we plan again?" Ding Lai said anxiously. But Jiang Tian had already retracted his divine sense and stopped communicating with him. Ding Lai was stunned for a long time, his expression solemn. Ji Shui Peak. After Peak Master Wu Xiaoda returned to the peak, he immediately received news from Miayu. It turns out that Zhen Yin is really only at the second level of foundation establishment. He used pills to forcefully increase his cultivation. He pondered for a while and summoned an elder. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he asked in a deep voice, "Have you interrogated him?" Who was the person who killed my beloved son, Teng Ying, by the Blackwater Lake? Immortal Master Zhen Yin. The elder bowed slightly and said coldly, "It's really him." Wu Xiaoda's expression changed slightly, then he slapped the armrest of his chair and said angrily, "Hypocrite, despicable and shameless. Cruel and unscrupulous. It's a pity that Jiang Haishan and Ding Lai are idiots and short-sighted. They still want to elect him as the mountain master of Demon Cave Mountain and even the ruler of this small world." Chapter 9:18. Please listen, Peak Lord. The elder's face stiffened, and he smiled bitterly. According to that cultivator, it was the young Peak Lord who provoked the Concealment Immortal Master first, and then the Concealment Immortal Master attacked. Besides, the Concealment Immortal Master is very powerful. I'm afraid we are no match for him. Wu Xiaoda sneered. I have 3,000 cultivators on my Jishui Peak. I don't believe we can't kill him. Besides, I don't need to do it myself. What do you mean, Peak Lord? The elder was surprised. Do you know that the Qing Shen Daozi died on Earth? Wu Xiaoda said with a smile. I've heard about it. The elder nodded solemnly. Rumor has it that the Starry Palace received a message from the immortal Trap Array. The one who killed the Qing Shen Daozi was the strongest person on Earth, Kong Teichu. If I'm not wrong, the Concealment Immortal Master is Kong Teichu. Wu Xiaoda's eyes flickered, and he said coldly, "Do you think he can survive in this space?" What? Kong Teichu is the strongest person on Earth after all. He killed the Qing Shen Daozi. How would he dare to come to the Starry Sky domain? Is he crazy? Is he so stupid? The elder couldn't believe it. He first appeared in Qingyang town and killed several members of the city patrol department. Wang Qingzheng wanted to catch him, and the transmission array outside Qingyang town was connected to the Earth realm. Jiang Zhenin should be Kong Teichu. Wu Xiaoda's face was ferocious. He entered the information into several strange arrays and laughed wildly. I'll send a message to the Starry Palace. I'd like to see how he can challenge Li Longyuan when he's only at the second level of Foundation establishment. Wu Xiaoda, you're a chameleon. You were very grateful when I gave you the crystal talisman. All of a sudden, a mocking voice was heard. Jiang Tian suddenly appeared in the flickering light and shadow, just like the ripples of water. Why you here? Wu Xiaoda was alarmed. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to arrive at such a timely moment. His expression changed drastically. But in the next moment, he calmed down and said disdainfully, should I call you Immortal Concealment Master or Kong Teichu? Up to you. It's just a title. Jiang Tian said with a cold smile. Kong Teichu, you are not a qualified cultivator. Wu Xiaoda was very calm. He sipped his tea and mocked. Cultivators are all decisive, cold, and merciless. They cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. You killed my son, so you shouldn't have left me alive. I can kill an ant like you anytime. Jiang Tian said disdainfully. I'm an ant? Wu Xiaoda flew into a rage. You're just fishing for fame. You should know who's the ant here. You're only at the second level of the Foundation establishment stage, and he wants to fight with Li Longyuan of the Heavenly Star Palace. Wu Xiaoda stood up and looked down at Jiang Tian with a mocking expression. Do you rely on drugs? Do you rely on explosive energy pills and furious heart powder? Aren't you afraid of killing yourself? With your inferior cultivation, not to mention Li Longyuan, even I, Wu Xiaoda, am far behind you. I'm at the third level of the Foundation establishment stage. Third level of the Foundation establishment stage? In my eyes, you're trash. Jiang Tian said disdainfully. How dare you? Wu Xiaoda's face turned cold. A surging aura swept out. He stepped forward and roared loudly. You're just a lowly earthling. How dare you kill my son? Kneel down and kill yourself to atone for your sins. You want me to kneel down and kill myself to atone for my sins? You have a rich imagination. Facing the terrifying aura, Jiang Tian smiled faintly like a spring breeze caressing his face. Lowly earthling. If you kill yourself, you'll have an intact body. I'll make sure you die without a burial place. Wu Xiaoda said arrogantly. Suddenly, Jiang Tian raised his hand and slapped him to the ground. He sneered and said, "I dare you to say the word lowly earthling again. What's your cultivation level? Haven't the effects of the explosive energy pill disappeared after you took it?" Wu Xiaoda rolled 8 meters away and covered his red face. He was stunned and couldn't believe it. When Jiang Tian attacked, he felt as if he had fallen into a piece of iron and couldn't move at all. He was completely at Jiang Tian's mercy. He originally thought that Jiang Tian used a secret art to forcefully increase his cultivation level. Now that the effects of the pill had disappeared and his cultivation level had decreased, he could easily suppress Jiang Tian. But he never expected that Jiang Tian didn't lose any of his cultivation. Jiang Tian beat him as if he were a weakling. "Do I need an explosive energy pill to beat you? You're overestimating yourself." Jiang Tian was full of ridicule. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Wu Xiaoda and slapped him again. Blood splattered and Wu Xiaoda's cheek was smashed. He flew more than 10 meters away and fell to the ground like a dead dog. "Kang Teichu, you've gone too far." Wu Xiaoda was furious and his eyes were red. His son was brutally killed by this person and now he was humiliated by this person. This was simply unbearable. His hair was disheveled and his face was ferocious. He rushed towards Jiang Tian like a madman. He clenched his hands and black Zhenyuan rippled like water and condensed into a long saber. He slashed towards Jiang Tian. Water saber art, black water saber art. Heaven-cleaving mountain-breaking style. Die for me. At this moment, Wu Xiaoda was full of confidence. He had the confidence to kill Jiang Tian. The black water saber art had endless magical uses. His water Zhenyuan could control water. As long as the speed of water reached 460 feet in an instant, it could cut through steel. It would definitely cut a person in half. It was indestructible. It was just like water jets and high-pressure water guns in the real world. The speed of water spray was 1,448,000 miles per hour and could cut through titanium alloy. Wu Xiaoda's black water saber art had been cultivated to the greater success stage. He had used this saber art to kill a level 3 foundation establishment cultivator. "Is this your trump card? You're too disappointing." Jiang Tian shook his head gently. It could be said that even if Jiang Tian had not cultivated the mystic water transformation and the green dragon mystic water divine body, he would not be afraid at all with the gung metal divine body. Moreover, Jiang Tian had already cultivated the mystic water transformation. The mystic water transformation was born from the famous green dragon mystic water divine body, one of the 13 strongest divine bodies in the cultivation world. After Jiang Tian had cultivated the mystic water transformation, it was equivalent to having the green dragon mystic water divine body. He could control all water and benefit all living things. Using any water cultivation technique in front of Jiang Tian was tantamount to showing off one's skills in front of Guan Yu. Jiang Tian only moved his right hand gently. It was like a person picking a lotus on a grasshopper's boat. It was easy and casual. But suddenly, the black water saber was firmly fixed in the air as if it was embedded in a 1,000-kilogram boulder. It could not move an inch or move an inch. Wu Xiaoda was still holding the saber with both hands and hanging in the air like a hanged ghost. "What?" His angry roar came to an abrupt end. His face was full of shock and horror. It was very awkward. Why can't it move? This is impossible. Wu Xiaoda wanted to cry but no tears came out. No matter how he channeled his Zhenyuan and used many secret techniques, the black saber remained motionless. Why is it impossible? Do you really think I'm a level 2 foundation establishment cultivator? Besides, I'm at foundation establishment level 2. Can't I kill you? Jiang Tian laughed. His laughter was filled with mockery. In his heart, he was even grateful to the impulsive Lady Desolation. Some ticking time bombs had to be detonated in advance. Jiang Tian kicked Wu Xiaoda in the chest. Swoosh! Wu Xiaoda was sent flying like a dead dog. He opened his mouth and spat out blood. He could not withstand it at all. "I can't accept this." Wu Xiaoda roared as he spat out blood. He truly could not accept this cruel defeat. This was too illogical. A foundation establishment level 2 was indeed a foundation establishment level 2. Even if he was only at foundation establishment level 3, he could still crush him. Furthermore, he was using his ancestral Blackwater Saber technique. Blackwater Splitting Saber. He roared indignantly and used his strongest move. Charging forward, he condensed his Zhenyuan into a black saber and swept it out. After a series of surges, the water-type Zhenyuan split the saber into hundreds of sabers. Like a bud blooming into a flower, the saber flowers swept towards Jiang Tian in an overwhelming manner. This saber move could only be used by late-stage or even foundation establishment level 8 or 9. Wu Xiaoda used his lifetime's cultivation to forcefully execute it. After this slash, he was already panting and spitting out blood from exhaustion. His body trembled and his black hair turned white. He was like a lamp that was about to run out of oil. However, he believed that this saber move could definitely kill Jiang Tian. He could not help but want to laugh maniacally. However, before he could laugh, his smile froze completely. Trash. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and raised his hand to touch it again. But countless black water blades froze in the air, motionless and turning into a still image. In that instant, Wu Xiaoda froze on the spot as if he was struck by lightning. His mind was in a frenzy and he was about to go crazy. Regardless of whether Jiang Tian swallowed pills or cheated, Jiang Tian's current combat strength was at late-stage foundation establishment or even fake core. At least for today, he had absolutely no hope of killing Jiang Tian. Do you understand now? Who's the ant here? Jiang Tian stomped down and directly stomped him onto the ground like a dead dog. Then he said mockingly, "Ha, Kong Teichu, you don't dare to kill me. You can't kill me." At the brink of death, Wu Xiaoda actually started laughing crazily. "Oh why?" Jiang Tian laughed. "There's no one in the entire universe that I don't dare to kill, not to mention the small world. I was originally a spy of the Feather Guard lurking in Demon Cave Mountain. I have a communication array that can directly contact Li Longyuan." Wu Xiaoda laughed strangely and said hoarsely, "If you dare to kill me, the communication array will immediately activate when your heart stops beating and your divine soul is destroyed. They'll immediately know that you're Kong Teichu, the culprit who killed the Qing Xian sect disciple. Immortal Master Zhen, Senior Wu, can you calm down for a moment?" At this moment, a cold voice rang out. A flying sword flashed past, and Fairy Miao Yi's graceful figure suddenly appeared in the hall. She seemed to have come in a hurry. Her face was red and sweaty, and her hair was stuck to her temples. Her clothes were torn and dirty, as if she had just gone through a fierce battle. "Kong Teichu, if you let Wu Xiaoda go, I can persuade him to destroy those arrays and keep it a secret forever." Goddess Miao Yi frowned. "And then?" Jiang Tian asked calmly. "And then?" Goddess Miao Yi was stunned for a moment and said anxiously, "Of course it's to run far away. Immediately return to your Earth realm, hide, and avoid the danger. Li Longyuan is not someone you can afford to offend." Chapter 919. I can't afford to offend him? Jiang Tian chuckled. "Kong Teichu." Fairy Miao Yi was very anxious. She spoke quickly. "Do you know? Your identity has been exposed to a certain extent. At least now, the Tianhuang city has already guessed that you are Kong Teichu. It's just that they aren't sure where you are. I've never hated you because you looked down on me. I'm really worried about you. If Wu Xiaoda spreads the news that you are in the Demon Cave Mountain, the Tianhuang city will immediately send an army to the border and you won't be able to escape. Why should I leave? Do you think I'll definitely lose? Isn't the third level of foundation establishment right under my feet?" Jiang Tian asked. Fairy Miao Yi took a deep breath and said, "Let me ask you, is your cultivation level at the second level of foundation establishment? Then do you know how big the gap between the second level of foundation establishment and the golden core is?" Fairy Miao Yi said seriously. Golden core cultivators are already called perfected immortals, not human immortals, sky immortals and earth immortals at the foundation establishment level. Those fake immortals have already undergone a qualitative change. It's no exaggeration to say that you're as vulnerable as a 3-year-old in front of Li Longyuan. The more she spoke, the more anxious and angry she became. She said angrily, "Besides, do you really think that Li Longyuan is the only golden core cultivator in the Tianqing Palace? Li Longyuan is a descendant of the Li family of the reclusive royalty Tang dynasty. But the Tianqing Palace also has Yuan Tiangong's family. Some people even suspect that a mid-stage golden core senior brother of Yuan Tiangong didn't die, but chose to condense his blood and stop his life to sleep in the Tianqing Palace. In your eyes, they are unshakable." Jiang Tian chuckled disdainfully. "But in my eyes, whether it's Yuan Tiangong's family or the reclusive royalty Li family, they are just ants that I can destroy with a wave of my hand. Do you know that I once dominated the universe and killed 5 million perfected immortals with a sword?" "You're crazy. You're really crazy." Fairy Miao Yi couldn't believe it. She flung her sleeves and said coldly, "The ignorant are fearless. You're courting death. Isn't it great to return to Earth and be the #1 person?" Why should I return it?" Jiang Tian said disdainfully. "Why should I go back? In all my life I, Kong Teichu, have always gone against the flow. I've always fought against the strong. I've never taken a step back in the struggle for the great Tao. Fine. I tried to persuade you, but you didn't listen. If you want to die, then die. I won't stop you." Fairy Miao Yi said angrily with tears in her eyes. After learning about Jiang Tian's true cultivation from celestial annihilation desire, she was very worried. She hurriedly rushed to Jade Well Mountain to persuade Jiang Tian to retreat. In order to take a shortcut, she even ran into a few yellow-skinned dragon-lion demon beasts at the edge of Crimson Thunder Mountain, whose battle prowess was comparable to the Middle Foundation establishment stage. She had gone through untold hardships to repel those demonic beasts. She was surrounded by danger and almost lost her life. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian had already arrived at Jishui Mountain. She rushed over on her flying sword and was so tired that she was panting. Originally, Jiang Tian's rejection of the marriage made her feel embarrassed. She came to persuade Jiang Tian relentlessly. She was already blaming herself for being shameless. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian would actually be disdainful and treat her words as wind. She was simply putting hot face on a cold butt. How could she not be angry? Seeing that she was about to cry, Jiang Tian's expression softened a little. "I know you have good intentions. However, Li Longyuan's target is Earth. This battle is unavoidable. Also, you must persuade your master not to go astray and stand against me. Otherwise, I won't be polite." What did you say? You're not the one who went astray." Fairy Miao Yi felt that she was going crazy. She felt that Jiang Tian had gone crazy. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to explain. He ignored her and looked down at Wu Xiuda coldly. "Send a message to the Heavenly Star Palace. Tell them that the concealment immortal master is me, Kong Teichu. But that's all you can say. Don't expose City Lord Ding Lai." Wu Xiuda couldn't believe it and laughed maniacally. "You're not afraid of death? Are you really not afraid of death? How would you know Li Longyuan's terrifying strength?" In fact, he knew that if he sent the message, he wouldn't have any bargaining chips and methods to threaten Jiang Tian. He would definitely die. "Send the message. I won't kill you. If you don't, you'll die immediately," Jiang Tian said coldly. "Kong Teichu, are you crazy?" Fairy Miao Yi was already numb from the shock of Jiang Tian. Forcing Wu Xiuda to send a message to the Heavenly Star Palace was clearly courting death. "But I'll send the message." Wu Xiuda hurriedly rolled and crawled to the front of the communication array. He carved words on the array pestle and inserted the array pestle into the array eye of the communication array. Boom! The communication array trembled violently. A stream of information spread across the entire Heavenly Star small world and shot towards the north. After seeing him send the message, Jiang Tian walked out leisurely. Around him, the elder and many cultivators who had rushed over after hearing the news were mostly at the Qi refinement stage or the first or second level of the Foundation establishment stage. At this moment, seeing Jiang Tian walking over, they consciously retreated like the tide. They looked at Jiang Tian with panic and fear. "You won't kill me? You really won't kill me?" Wuxia looked at Jiang Tian's back in disbelief. "I can kill you at any time, but I won't kill you first." Jiang Tian didn't even turn his head. "The only thing you can rely on now is Li Longyuan from the Heavenly Star Palace. I'll kill him slowly and let you experience endless fear and torture before I kill you." "In your dreams?" Wu Xiuda laughed crazily. "Kong Teichu, you'll regret it. Because you'll never have a chance to kill me again, because powerful enemies will come one after another. I'll enjoy the beautiful scene of you being stomped into meat paste by the Heavenly Star Small World. If you don't believe me, then wait and see." Jiang Tian stepped on the flying sword and flew away, leaving Fairy Miao Yi standing there with a face full of shock and anger. "Immortal Master Jianin is the most powerful overlord on earth, Kong Teichu. He's the culprit who killed the Azure Mystic Sect disciple." 15 minutes later, this piece of news was earth-shattering. After setting off stormy waves, it instantly spread throughout Devil Cave Mountain, then to the border cities, and then to the Giant Sword Sect, Devil Suppressing Temple, Wild Wave City, and Floating Spear City. This shocking news swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands like a hurricane, shocking the entire Heavenly Star Small World. All the people who heard it were dumbfounded. Back then, when the deity trap array was completed and the ancient covenant was established, no one on Earth was allowed to cultivate or ascend, maintaining the status of a low-level civilization. First, it acted as a cover for the many hidden sects in the ruins of immortality to prevent the invasion of higher-level civilizations. Second, the Earth was recuperating and waiting for the time to recover spirit chi. Then, the overlords of the ruins of immortality would descend and rule. Under the leadership of the Hidden Sects Alliance led by the ruins of immortality, the 3 level 4 small worlds closest to Earth, Heavenly Star, Xia and Kenglin, were responsible for supervising the Earth. If anyone wanted to ascend, they would kill without mercy. In the long years, among the billions of ants on Earth, all the humans on Earth who wanted to ascend to the 3rd level of the Foundation establishment level were either killed by the 3 hidden sects or destroyed their cultivation. During the Middle Ages, the Heavenly Star Small World killed thousands of human cultivators on Earth. The Heavenly Star Small World even invaded Earth on a large scale. Overnight, they brazenly wiped out Qingqing, which was once side by side with Kunlun, and cut off a glorious orthodoxy. Even Yuan Tiangang, when he ascended to the Heavenly Star Small World, started as a servant and servant. Of course, he later controlled the Heavenly Star Palace with his own ability, but at that time, he was already a member of the Heavenly Star Small World and had made great contributions to the Heavenly Star Palace. Only then did he inherit the mantle. For thousands of years, in the eyes of the people of the Heavenly Star Small World, the humans on Earth were as weak as ants that could be trampled on at will. In the face of the peerless power of the Heavenly Star Small World, the humans on Earth could only submit or die. There was no third way. It could be said that for so many years, Kong Teichu was the first person who dared to kill the humans of the Heavenly Star Small World. Moreover, the one he killed was the Qing Xian Daozi, Li Longyuan's son. However, after he killed someone, it was not good for him to hide on Earth and bide his time. Instead, he came swaggering to the Heavenly Star domain. This was simply too shocking. Floating Spear City. The city walls were hundreds of feet high and made of huge stones that were dozens of meters long. It was impregnable and indestructible. Many civilians and even martial artists of the transcendent realm could only serve as laborers here. Dozens of them worked together and used rolling logs to push the huge stones up the slope to the top of the city wall. Hurry up! Damn it, I didn't eat enough for lunch. Next to them, a peak chi refinement stage self-cultivator from the Heavenly Star Palace waved a long whip and ruthlessly whipped their backs. With one whip, the flesh on their bodies exploded and blood dripped. Not to mention the civilians, even martial artists of the transcendent realm dared not speak out. They were the descendants of the humans on Earth who were plundered by the Heavenly Star immortal cultivators. They had the martial arts inheritance, but they could only serve as slaves here and had no freedom. Boom! Suddenly, A thunderous sound came from the city lord mansion in the center of the giant city. An extremely powerful aura soared into the sky. The vast essence chi formed a pillar that was thousands of meters high. It broke through the clouds and spun like a tornado. It was vast and powerful, destroying everything in its path. Kong Teichu, you dared to kill Taoist Qing Xian and challenge the authority of the Heavenly Star Palace. I Shintij will kill you. His voice was like thunder that shook the sky. It was full of endless anger and shook people's hearts. In the sky, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Dark clouds gathered and covered the sky, leaving a large shadow on the ground. A terrifying and huge pressure came down like waves crashing on the shore, enveloping the entire giant city. The city lord has come out of seclusion. Countless people were suppressed until their legs trembled. They could not help but kneel on the ground, revealing a terrified expression as if they had seen a ghost. The city lord of Floating Spear City, the god of war Shintij. He came from the Heavenly Star Palace and was Li Longyuan's junior brother. He was at the Fate Core realm and had unparalleled combat skills. He had once killed 30,000 martial artists and cultivators who opposed the Heavenly Star Palace. 200 years ago, in the war to suppress many sects, Shintij had made many miraculous contributions. He was unparalleled and was conferred the title of Heavenly Star Domain War God by Li Longyuan. He led an army of 100,000 cultivators and guarded Floating Spear City. His birth could be said to be an earth-shattering event. Who is this Kong Teichu? How dare he challenge the Heavenly Star Palace? He killed Taoist Qing Xian? For a moment, the entire Floating Spear City was in an uproar. Millions of people knew that a shocking storm was about to sweep across the entire Heavenly Star small world. Is this true? Is the world going to be in chaos? Many people revealed looks of horror, trembling with fear. They were all shocked and trembling, not daring to believe what they were seeing. Chapter 920. Border City, City Lord Mansion, Conference Hall. A tall and burly man wearing beast skin armor sat on the throne like a tiger crouching and a dragon coiled up. At this moment, he was listening to a civil official reading the court bulletin with his eyes wide open. Under the throne, many advisors and soldiers stood respectfully. Each of them was like a lone peak, as deep as the abyss and high as the mountain. They had a strict aura and profound cultivation. At this moment, a woman in a palace dress staggered in. She knelt down and said with tears in her eyes, "Husband, Li Liang was killed by Kong Teichu. He was my only brother and my only family. You can't just ignore it. You have to avenge me. My beloved wife, get up." Fang Jingqiang stood up and slammed the table. He's just an ant in the secular world. How dare he provoke the Heavenly Star small world? I must kill him. Give the order, gather the troops and set off for Jade Well Peak. Okay, husband, I knew you were the strongest man in the world. Of course, in this world, other than Li Longyuan, no one is my match. Fang Jingqiang's ugly face revealed a greedy look. He ignored the presence of the crowd and tore off her clothes. He began to work hard in front of everyone. The generals were already used to it. They kept their noses to their mouths and mouths to their hearts. Without making a sound, they slowly retreated. Husband, I want to follow you into battle and cheer for you. I want to see you tear Kong Teichu into pieces. Li Hongyu's charming face was filled with viciousness at this moment. Then she became intoxicated. In the demon-subduing temple, thunder and lightning surrounded it. Buddhist light shone brightly, and Buddhist chanting could be heard from time to time. A haggard old monk with a golden halo behind his head stepped out of the old monk's hut. He held the 9 palms Buddhist staff and chanted Buddhist names. He wore a brocade cassock and said in an old voice, "The heavens are virtuous. I don't want to increase the number of killings in this world. I will persuade everyone to stop fighting and use the boundless Buddhist power to convert Kong Teichu." Countless arhats and eminent monks showed reverence and bowed deeply to Master Pudu, the abbot of the demon-subduing temple, to show the highest respect. At the giant sword sect, a deputy sect master roared, "This Kong Teichu is so overbearing. He killed the Qing Xiandaozi and dared to come to the Heavenly Star small world. He even dared to kill people from my giant sword sect. Activate the sect's most precious treasure. All of the sect's experts are to move out in full force and kill Kong Teichu. The sect leader was alarmed and issued the order. In the Starry Sky Palace, Li Longyuan, who had received the news, looked very calm. He waved his hand and said, "A mere ant from Earth is not enough for me to take action. Feather Robe Guards, go and settle this matter. Otherwise, bring your head to me." "Yes." The leader bowed and retreated. Li Longyuan was still sitting there cross-legged. His eyebrows were lowered, and he slowly closed his eyes like a statue. A quarter of an hour later, streaks of white light tore through the sky from the Heavenly Star Palace's Dao field and flew across the sky. The 10 feather warriors of the Feather Robe Guards came out together to fight Kong Teichu and avenge the Qing Xiandaozi. In addition, the Heartless Sect, the Quakedan Sect, the Yellow Maple Valley, the Snake Sect and the Prajna Temple, all the other forces were paying close attention to this matter. Some rushed to the Demon Cave Mountain and the Jade Well Peak to kill Jiang Tian. Some didn't immediately attack, not because they were afraid of Jiang Tian, but because they didn't think there was a need to. How could an abandoned person from Earth be qualified to challenge the Heavenly Star small world? Besides, he was alone. He was only at the second level of the Foundation establishment level. Even if he was a golden core cultivator, he would be torn to pieces if he was surrounded by thousands of soldiers. After returning to the Jade Well Peak, Jiang Tian opened the treasure vault and plundered many materials. He occupied the refining room and used a lot of black iron to gradually forge 9,990 flying swords. Although the materials used by Jiang Tian to refine the disposable flying swords weren't bad, there was still a certain gap between them and these flying swords. Although the black iron flying swords weren't as good as the 9 swords and little black flying swords from the Heavenly Court, they were far superior to the disposable flying swords from before. During this process, he taught Xiao Beishan a set of Chaos Gale Hammer technique. Not only could it be used to refine weapons, but it was also a cultivation technique for refining weapons. Xiao Beishan's comprehension was good and he quickly understood it. He became Jiang Tian's good assistant in refining weapons and slowly became able to hold his own. In addition, he also taught Xiao Yingluo a set of Xianming Cloudwater Palm, which was also a very good cultivation technique. When the news spread to the other main peaks, the peak masters announced to the world that they were declaring war on the Jade Well Peak and Golden Pine Peak. Before this, they originally thought that Jiang Tian was a cultivator from a high-level hidden sect small world, and had high hopes for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian used pills or secret techniques to forcefully increase his cultivation and combat strength, but after a few years of seclusion, he could still increase his combat strength again. Plus, with the help of Annihilation Desire, his chances of winning weren't small. But now, Annihilation Desire had withdrawn. Moreover, Jiang Tian was actually the culprit who killed the Qing Xiandaozi. All the major powers had declared war on Jiang Tian. How could Jiang Tian still have time to breathe? He would definitely lose. However, they didn't dare to expose Star Capital City's city lord Ding Lai. After all, Star Capital City wasn't a small power. If Li Longyuan couldn't kill Ding Lai, then Ding Lai would take revenge on them. It was even to the extent that some of the elders and hall masters of the Jade Well Peak took Jiang Tian to be their mortal enemy. If it wasn't for them being uncertain of his strength, they would have long since attacked together and killed Jiang Tian without mercy. However, Jiang Tian was very leisurely and indifferent. Every day, he would either read the local geography, refine pills, meditate, or give pointers to the Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey on their cultivation and weapon refinement. He wasn't nervous at all. He even wore plain clothes and walked around on wooden clogs. Sometimes he would row a boat in the clear stream, or climb the tower to look at the mountains after the rain, or walk leisurely on the riverside of the willow shade under Jade Well Peak. On this day, under Jade Well Peak, by the willow shade riverside, Jiang Tian was sitting on a blue stone and playing the zither. Beside him, the Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey were barbecuing in high spirits. "I really want to eat people. I'm so hungry." The large black dog lay on the rock and looked at the sky. Yi Tunren was silently meditating, and Chu Yunxiu was completely acting as Jiang Tian's maid, serving Jiang Tian tea and water. Immortal Master Jiang, don't you need to arrange troops? I heard that the border cities and floating spear city have already dispatched troops. Seeing Jiang Tian so leisurely, Jiang Yunhe was alarmed and nervous. He followed behind Jiang Tian and howled miserably. Now, among the 7 main peaks, Gold Pine Peak and Jade Well Peak were the main combatants. The other 5 peaks had already defected. Even at the main combatants of Gold Pine Peak and Jade Well Peak, many cultivators and martial artists had withdrawn, leaving without saying goodbye. In the blink of an eye, more than half of their battle strength had been lost. They simply didn't believe that Kong Taichu and Jiang Haishan would be a match for the Heavenly Star Palace. Moreover, Jiang Tian was a complete outsider, and he even crippled Chu Yonghui's cultivation. Emotionally, the people of Jade Well Peak also didn't approve of Jiang Tian. Even those who stayed were actually very pessimistic and could flee at any time. From the map, Devil Cave Mountain was only a small corner of the Heavenly Star Palace's border. Jade Well Peak was practically invisible. If they wanted to take down the Heavenly Star Palace, it was tantamount to an ant trying to shake a tree, a small mouse trying to swallow an elephant. Gold Pine Peak's Jiang Haishan was anxious like an ant on a hot pan. He recruited troops everywhere and used up all his resources. Adding up the new and old experts, there were no more than 10 foundation establishment cultivators, no more than several hundred chi refinement cultivators, and the rest were only about 1,000 low-level martial artists. But these newly joined people were more like mercenaries or bounty hunters. They simply didn't approve of Jiang Tian and only wanted to make money. If Jiang Tian was defeated, they would also immediately leave Jade Well Peak. They simply wouldn't fight to the death. At that time, it would be a crushing defeat. Jade Well Peak and Gold Pine Peak would be completely razed to the ground. Not even a chicken or dog would be left. What are you afraid of? Yunhe, you brat, although you're a good-for-nothing, your father has foresight. He can see that we'll definitely win. Jiang Tian's clothes fluttered in the wind. His jade-like fingers lightly plucked the zither strings, producing a pleasant tinkling sound. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he smiled. What does a mere border city count for? They're just cannon fodder. If they dare to come, they'll just be delivering resources to us. Reckless fool, you don't know how terrifying a border city is. You don't know the strength of the Heavenly Star Palace. On the side, the bruised Chu Yunxiu sneered disdainfully. She looked at Jiang Tian as if she was looking at a madman, gnashing her teeth in hatred. She hated Jiang Tian to the core. Jiang Tian crippled her father's cultivation, seized Jade Well Peak, and even ruined her marriage. It could be said that he had ruined her love life, marriage, and career. Not to mention, ever since she was captured by Jiang Tian would pull her out and beat her up from time to time. Although Jiang Tian controlled his strength and wouldn't beat her to death, every time he beat her up, her flesh would be lacerated and she would be dripping with blood. The pain of the flesh was simply torturous. Not only did Jiang Tian destroy her physically, but he also wantonly ravaged and humiliated her mentally. Every day, he mocked her for being blind, despised her for using Qiao Yingluo to win over Huang Biao and his son. He even mocked her for not having true feelings for Jiang Yunhe, saying that Jiang Yunhe liked Ding Lingdang and so on. She was beaten by Jiang Tian all day long until she wanted to cry but had no tears. She wanted to die and wished she could hang herself. Slap. Chu Yunxiu's voice was very soft, but Jiang Tian still heard it. He raised his hand and gave her a slap, slapping her into the mountain wall. Immortal Master Jiang is really a deity. He seamlessly switched between elegant music performance and violent beating, as natural as moving clouds and flowing water. Jiang Yunhe said with a smile, "This disciple's admiration for you is really like the endless torrential river, like the overflowing yellow river. Once started, it can't be stopped. Kong Taichu, you've gone too far, killing without restraint. You will be punished by the heavens. You will definitely receive retribution. The desolate border army is about to arrive." Chu Yunxiu walked out of the cave, her face red and swollen, her flesh lacerated, and her nose almost collapsed. She gritted her teeth and said hatefully, "I'll kill however many come, I'm just afraid they won't come." Jiang Tian sneered disdainfully. At this moment, boom, boom, sounds like missiles piercing through the air were heard. Countless loud noises mixed together, like the roar of rolling thunder. The spiritual energy between heaven and earth trembled uneasily, and the trees on the mountain shook violently. It could be said to be earth-shattering. In the distant horizon, huge bronze chariots, warships, and cloud towers left large shadows on the ground. They flew through the air and attacked rapidly. Huge flags fluttered in the wind, their arrogance soaring to the sky. On each flag, a bloody word was written, "Desolate." "Ha! Kong Teichu, your retribution came so quickly. The desolate border army is coming. You're going to die. You're all going to die." Seeing this, Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes lit up, and she laughed wildly as if she had gone mad. Chapter 9:21. Every warship and chariot was dozens of meters long. There were white luans, giant eagles, red-crowned cranes, and other spiritual birds pulling the chariots. Some of them were even inscribed with ancient and profound runes. They relied on the dazzling splendor and aura they emitted to advance rapidly. The largest bronze chariot was the Desolate Edge. It was several hundred meters long and emitted an ancient brilliance. It was pulled by more than 10 flying beasts with huge wings, which looked like pterosaurs and were covered in green scales. Its aura was even more shocking. This bronze chariot was embedded with many crystals. The runes carved on the chariot were flowing endlessly, emitting a huge amount of Tao energy. Not only could it fly, it could also withstand and defend against attacks. On the Desolate Edge chariot, blood chi surged and its aura was like a rainbow. The majesty of a city lord poured down in torrents, violent and domineering without reservation. It was like a primordial beast descending from the sky, causing one's heart to palpitate. It instantly alarmed the entire Demon Cave Mountain. Is this the army of Desolate Edge City? What a powerful aura! Jiang Yunhe, the Qiao siblings, and the smelly monkey all looked up with fear. Their faces were as pale as a sheet of paper. "Huh, it's just a pile of scrap metal. What's the big deal?" Jiang Tian despised. "Ha!" When the chariot arrived within 10 miles of Jade Well Peak, the tens of thousands of cultivators and martial artists on the bronze chariot, warship, and cloud tower suddenly slammed the deck with the hilts of their weapons and shouted in unison. Their voices were like waves, and their auras were like dragons soaring into the sky, causing half of Demon Cave Mountain to tremble. Suddenly, the entire Jade Well Peak trembled slightly, emitting creaking sounds as if it was about to collapse. Many of the martial artists and cultivators inside were shaken to the point that their ears were ringing. Their chi and blood were surging, and they were terrified. Suddenly, clang clang. The entire Jade Well Peak resounded with the sound of golden gongs and bells, warning the crowd that a powerful enemy was attacking. However, the ancient chariots did not immediately attack Jade Well Peak. Instead, they floated around Jade Well Peak like an inescapable net, trapping Jade Well Peak. Soon, the hall masters, protectors, and elders of Jade Well Peak walked out one after another. Even the other main peaks were alarmed. Peak masters rushed over one after another. When Jiang Haishan arrived on his flying sword and saw the flag with the word "Desolate" on it fluttering in the wind, his face suddenly darkened and his heart skipped a beat. Today, the entire desolate city has come out in full force. Fang Jingqiang is actually leading the troops himself. That's too fast. There were only a few days left until the news was sent out. But an army of 10,000 arrived. Kong Teichu doesn't have the time to recover his cultivation and improve his combat strength. He will definitely die in this battle. Fortunately, we managed to escape in time. Otherwise, we would be the ones to suffer today. I'm afraid that Kong Teichu has already run away after hearing the news. How would he dare to accept the challenge? Some of the other peak masters' expressions changed drastically in disbelief, while others were gloating and watching from the sidelines. They looked at Jade Well Peak with mocking expressions. Desolate border city, compared to the other three giant cities, even though it wasn't the most prosperous city, because it had to resist the beast tide and kill the bandits of Desolate Border, it was one of the cities with the greatest fighting strength. Legend has it that Fang Jingqiang was a peak master of a huge ridge on Demon Cave Mountain. He made a living by robbing and was as ferocious as a demon, killing countless people. By chance, he obtained an inheritance from an ancient battlefield in Demon Cave Mountain. Since then, his cultivation soared to mid-stage pseudo-core and he was not far from a true golden core. In the past, his combat strength was unparalleled and he slaughtered his way through hundreds of kilometers, suppressing half of Demon Cave Mountain. His reputation was so great that even peerless experts would shudder at the sight of him and retreat to show their respect. He nearly unified Demon Cave Mountain. However, he was recruited by Li Longyuan and was conferred the title of an in-name disciple, becoming the city lord of Desolate City. Not only was Fang Jingqiang a pseudo-core expert, but he also cultivated an ancient inheritance that was unique and violent. He was only a step away from many sect masters. There were even rumors that he possessed a secret technique that could summon a demon god from another world. This demon god was incomparably powerful and did not even fear Golden Core experts. The Bronze Chariot, Warship and Cloud Tower were also excavated by him from the ancient battlefield in the depths of Demon Cave Mountain. Their origins were mysterious and it was said that they might have been ridden by ancient gods. After tens of thousands of years, they were still mighty and their surging magic power had not diminished at all. They could withstand the continuous attacks of Golden Core experts and were terrifying to the extreme. Because Fang Jingqiang was born a bandit in Demon Cave Mountain and had once joined forces with Jiang Haishan to resist the beast stampede, their relationship was quite good. Before this, many people who did not know the truth thought that Fang Jingqiang was likely to watch from the sidelines and even secretly help Jiang Haishan. Who would have thought that he would be the first to arrive? How could everyone not be shocked and not be surprised? The news of Desolate City sending troops to Jade Well Peak caused quite a commotion. Many leaders and elites of the famous sects rushed to the scene as fast as lightning, or craned their necks to watch and pay close attention. Demon Cave Mountain is already in a state of disunity. It's over. A wise person who was watching from the sidelines said decisively after understanding the details. Initially, Jiang Haishan had the intention of unifying Demon Cave Mountain. However, Kong Teichu came and messed everything up. That's right, an expert agreed. I heard that Kong Teichu first killed the son of a peak master and crippled Chu Yonghui's cultivation, taking over his place. The 7 main peaks were already disunited to begin with. How could they withstand such torment? If Kong Teichu was smart, he would have softened his stance and won over the majority. However, he was too arrogant and caused everyone to betray him. If I'm not wrong, Jiang Haishan is probably the only one who supports him. A veteran legendary figure waved his folding fan gently, as if he was holding a pearl of wisdom. I heard that there used to be cities and sects supporting Demon Cave Mountain, but they've all withdrawn now. I heard that Kong Teichu is only at the 2nd level of the foundation establishment level. He only relied on pills to increase his cultivation. Someone mocked. How can he last like that? It's unsustainable and will cause endless harm. Look at him now. He doesn't even dare to come out. Only Jiang Haishan is cleaning up his mess. What a joke. Yeah, so what if he's the most powerful person on Earth? He's just an ant. How dare he be so arrogant in the heavenly star small world? He must be tired of living. Many people stood aside with disdain and mockery on their faces. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was like a clown wearing a monkey's hat. In front of Jade Well Peak, finally, under the escort of several masters, Jiang Haishan took a step forward, cupped his fists, and said in a humble tone, "City Lord Fang, why did you suddenly visit our Demon Cave Mountain? Why didn't you inform this brother so this brother could have prepared some wine and waited for you?" At this time, he was only standing on a flying sword. Compared to the giant war chariot, he was like a weak leaf. There was no reply from the war chariot for a long time. The entire sky was dead silent. Many cultivators and soldiers remained silent. Their serious faces were full of murderous intent and the atmosphere was extremely tense. This kind of pressure was unbearable. Many of the murderers on the Jade Well Peak were frightened at the moment. Their faces were pale and cold sweat was running down their backs. After a full minute, the sound of footsteps that shook people's hearts like a yellow bell rang out. Fang Jingqiang stood up and walked over step by step. He wore a bronze armor inscribed with profound patterns and a golden helmet on his head. Phoenix feathers that shot up to the sky swayed in the wind. He had a leopard head with round eyes and an ominous glint in his eyes. He was extraordinarily mighty and imposing. He carried a huge mace, and his tall and sturdy body was like a golden mountain or jade pillar. His surging blood-colored true essence was unrestrained, like a huge wave that soared into the sky, breaking through the clouds in the sky. He was like an ancient beast that could devour people at any time, exuding a terrifying aura. There seemed to be a strong smell of blood in the air, which made people's legs go soft. After all, he was not only a fake core overlord and the city lord of a giant city, but also a peerless villain who had once suppressed Demon Cave Mountain. Even though he had been in a high position for decades, he still couldn't hide his bloodthirsty aura. Brother Haishan, I'm not here to attack Demon Cave Mountain. I'm here to kill Kong Teichu. Fang Jingqiang's aura was monstrous, and his voice was like rolling thunder, shaking the void and shattering the clouds. He coldly said, "As long as you retreat quickly, you and I have worked together to resist the beast tide. Even if you raise the flag of rebellion, I will let bygones be bygones. I will even plead for you in front of Master. If you are willing to join my border army to kill Kong Teichu, not only will you not be punished, you will also be rewarded. You will be supported by my border city and rewarded by the Heavenly Star Palace." Isn't that wonderful? As soon as these words came out, many people were surprised and shocked. It was rumored that Fang Jingqiang was not literate and was cruel and violent, but now it seemed that this was not the case at all. His words not only showed his tough attitude towards Jiang Tian, but also clarified the conflict between Kong Teichu and Demon Cave Mountain, dividing the Demon Cave Mountain camp and completely isolating Kong Teichu. It could be said that he was using both the carrot and the stick, mixing reason and emotion, advancing and retreating in a calculated manner. But on second thought, it was not strange. Fang Jingqiang was able to dominate a region, intimidate the border city, and was deeply trusted by Li Longyuan. How could he be a simple-minded person? Fang Jingqiang's words came out. The peak masters looked at each other, and Wu Xiaofeng immediately walked into the border army camp and shouted, "Kong Teichu once killed my beloved son. My peak and Kong Teichu are irreconcilable. We are willing to submit to Border City and kill Kong Teichu together." Soon after, the peak masters, mountain masters, cave masters, and heroic warriors successively expressed their stance, leading the crowd of heroes to clearly state their stance and follow Wu Xiaofeng into the Border City camp. With this, the situation took a turn for the worse. Among the 7 main peaks of Demon Cave Mountain, only Jiang Tian's faction was left supporting Jiang Tian. In the border army camp, Wu Xiaoda looked around and laughed complacently. Kong Teichu has repeatedly stirred up a storm of blood and lost the support of the people. Today, everyone has betrayed him. This is really retribution. Serves him right. Serves him right. He shouted haughtily, "Jiang Haishan, are you still obsessed with going about things the wrong way? I advise you to abandon the darkness and join the light as soon as possible. Otherwise, you won't be able to keep your life. Kong Teichu, are you finally afraid? Where are you hiding? Hurry up and come out to die. Come, let me see what kind of monstrous ability you have to be our enemy." Chapter 9:22. Jiang Haishan's face was pale and cold sweat was dripping from his forehead. He then smiled bitterly. Kong Teichu did come to Demon Cave Mountain, but he went to travel 3 days ago. He's not here at all. He knew that he was no match for the army, so he could only stall for time. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he would probably run away immediately. He would not underestimate Jiang Tian because of this. At this time, there was a huge gap between the strong and the weak. He could not be reckless, but he had to be rational and preserve his strength. As the saying goes, a single spark can start a prairie fire. As long as the fire was still there, Jiang Tian was talented and cultivated hard for 10 years. He still had a chance to turn the tables. It seems that Kong Teichu is not a fool. He knew that he was no match for City Lord Fong, so he ran away. Since he's not a fool, why did he come to Heavenly Star Small World? Now, his reputation has been destroyed. He probably became smart after coming to Heavenly Star Small World. He must have been a fool before. As soon as these words were said, the crowd laughed in disdain and many cultivators showed sarcastic expressions. Don't you know what is in the light and what is in the dark? Before he finished speaking, Chao Meng, a 9th-level foundation establishment elder of Jin Songfeng, had already stepped forward angrily. Li Longyuan made the lives of the entire Heavenly Star Small World worthless, and the people are living in poverty. You're shameless to the extreme and you're not worthy to be his lackeys. Tisk. Little Fong, don't be so arrogant. Your father was a famous hero who killed corrupt officials and suppressed tyrants. I'm not as shameless as you, working for a tyrant. I'll kill you. He stepped on his flying sword and instantly broke the sound barrier. He turned into a black stream of light and rushed toward the ancient warship. Fang Jingqiang glanced at him disdainfully and snorted coldly. A mere foundation establishment stage ant dares to provoke this city lord. Before he finished speaking, he raised his hand and grabbed at Chao Meng. Boom! A gigantic palm that was about 100 meters long appeared out of nowhere. It was overflowing with blood and qi, and there were skeletons floating within it. The mournful howls and screams of the skeletons could be heard for dozens of miles, making people's hair stand on end. The bloody palm blotted out the sky and came down. It was unknown how many cultivators it had devoured in the past. Blood-transforming mantis sovereign palm. The most powerful demonic art. Many people's expressions changed drastically when they saw this, and they cried out in alarm. This was an ancient scroll that Fang Jingqiang had found in the ruins of the Demon Cave Mountain's ancient battlefield. Previously, it had killed countless experts and possessed terrifying might. Elder Chao Meng was enraged. He slapped the back of his head and spat out a short sword. Tens of thousands of cold lights burst out from the short sword. Amidst the clanging sounds, it transformed into a huge sword about 10 meters long and slashed towards the huge palm. Bang! Although this elder had used his lifetime's ultimate skill, he was still no match for Fang Jingqiang's strike. The sword instantly shattered, and he was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. All the bones in his body were broken, and he spat out blood. This elder used to be the sect master of a small sect that rebelled against the Heavenly Star Palace. After his sect was destroyed, he fled to the Demon Cave Mountain and was protected by Jiang Haishan. He was one of the top experts of the Golden Pine Peak and was not far from Jiang Haishan. And, you want to challenge this city lord? You're simply courting death. Fang Jingqiang sneered with a disdainful expression. The elder summoned his flying sword and barely stabilized his body. His battle intent surged as he roared, "Even if I die, I'll still fight you." "As you wish." Fang Jingqiang's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pointed. With a bang, a blood rainbow pierced through the sky and pierced through the elder's head in the blink of an eye. Heavenly Execution Li Longyuan. He's a tyrant and a demon who whipped the heroes and plundered the world. I won't let him go even if I become a ghost. If the people don't fear death, why should they fear death? Elder Chao Meng's body suddenly stiffened. He was restrained by the blood qi, but he was fearless. He ignored the blood light and scanned the crowd as he shouted with all his might. Everyone knew that in just 1 second, this elder's head would explode and his body would turn into a rain of sparkling flesh that would no longer exist in this world. The entire place was deathly silent. Many people stood there in a daze, their hearts filled with mixed feelings. Of all the experts present, even those from the border cities, which one had not been bullied and humiliated by the Heavenly Star Palace and Li Longyuan? Of all the sects and factions in the world, which one had not had a few people killed by Li Longyuan and his henchmen? However, most people were afraid of death. Those who knew that they were no match but still dared to fight, and those who dared to sacrifice their lives for justice, were in the minority. A bad life was better than a good death. Most people chose to be slaves or servants, even if they lived like pigs or dogs, but they still did not dare to resist. Jiang Haishan's face was sorrowful as he closed his eyes, unable to bear to watch the tragic scene that would follow. This is the result of resisting the heavenly star palace and provoking the lord of the border cities. Ignorant of the times. In the crowd, only Wu Xiaoda gritted his teeth and laughed. But suddenly, a flying sword, like a green flowing light, soared through the air and cut the blood rainbow in half with a swoosh. Bang! The blood rainbow exploded uncontrollably, dyeing the sky in a radius of a few miles red. It was shocking. What a sharp flying sword. Who can break Fang Jingxiang's blood-transforming Mantis Emperor's blood rainbow? Wu Xiaoda's laughter came to an abrupt stop as he revealed a stunned expression. The entire place was filled with exclamations. Many people clicked their tongues in wonder, shocked and stunned as if they had seen a ghost. Even Fang Jingxiang revealed a somewhat serious and surprised expression. His bell-like eyes swept the surroundings, shooting out a frightening cold light. Swish! Almost in the blink of an eye, in front of the huge warship, a figure like the sun broke free from the sea and rose slowly. Jiang Tian, dressed in white, with his black hair fluttering like a waterfall, ascended to the sky, emitted thousands of golden lights, and faced Fang Jingxiang directly. Kong Teichu didn't run away. Wu Xiaoda was full of disbelief, and then his face was full of ridicule. Humph, you don't know what's good for you. He is Kong Teichu, the strongest person on earth who killed the Qing Xian sect disciple. It's him who killed the blue-eyed toad. He dares to come out and fight? He's courting death. At this moment, many people looked up with complicated emotions in their eyes. They were shocked and surprised. The army of the border city was pressing on the border, and the battle formation was earth-shattering. When Jiang Tian heard the news, he should have avoided the sharp edge, fled, and hid. It was extremely difficult for an ant from Earth to overthrow the Tianqing Palace, but he was killed by the enemy with a raise of his hand. The terrain of the Demon Cave Mountain was complicated, with thousands of mountains and thousands of peaks. The caves were like ant nests. If he hid, he could preserve his strength. That's great. He's come out. He's finally going to die. Only Wu Xiaoda, Chu Yunxiu, Chu Yonghui and the others were gloating. Jiang Tian looked calm. He stood in front of Jiang Haishan and the others and said, "Send Elder Chao back to heal. You're no match for him. I'll fight with them." In the crowd of spectators, Goddess Miao Yi covered her face with a white veil, and her eyes were full of sorrow and regret. Kong Teichu, why are you so arrogant and don't know when to stop? The fight for the Great Tao needed to be like a 100-foot pole. It needed to be like water droplets piercing through stone, slowly and cautiously. The path of cultivation is a competition of talent, perseverance, and perseverance. In another 100 years, you might be able to catch up to Li Longyuan. But now, you're still young and your foundation is shallow. It's too unwise to fight head-on. She suddenly tore off her veil and stepped forward on her sword. She smiled and said, "I'm Miao Yi, a disciple of Goddess Miao from the Heartless sect. Greetings, City Lord Fang." The moment she revealed her true appearance, the thousands of spectators and tens of thousands of soldiers were all shaken, and they all gasped in amazement. Goddess Miao Yi, a top overlord on the prodigy roll and the eldest disciple of the Heartless sect. She's so beautiful. She's otherworldly and incomparably beautiful. Watching her is like drinking heavenly wine. This woman was like a snow lotus on the heavenly mountain. She was as pure as ice and as beautiful as jade. She exuded a celestial aura that could shake people's hearts and make them want to only watch her from afar. Why did this little vixen come out? Is she trying to seduce my husband? Even Hongyu, who was famous for her beauty, felt somewhat jealous and ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her on the warship. "Why are you looking for me?" Fang Jingqiang looked at Miao Yi and shook his head. Her breasts were too small and not sexy enough. Under everyone's gaze, Goddess Miao Yi came to the front of the warship. She cupped her fists at Fang Jingqiang and said respectfully, City Lord Fang, this immortal genin saved my life at the Blackwater Lake. My sect owes him a great debt. It was true that Jiang Tian had saved her, but it would be an exaggeration to say that he was a great debt to the Heartless sect. However, she was still too far away from a city lord like Fang Jingqiang. She could only use the name of Fang Jingqiang. She begged, City Lord Fang, can you give the Heartless sect some face and stop the war? Let Kong Teichu go this time. The Heartless sect will definitely repay you. Kong Teichu, so you rely on women? You're living off women. Fang Jingqiang shook his head and ignored her. He stared at Jiang Tian with a sneer. This girl was too naive. It was not as simple as me wanting to kill Kong Teichu. It was Li Longyuan who wanted him dead. In this world, who would dare to challenge Li Longyuan's authority, let alone an ant from Earth? Not to mention he had killed his son. Even if your master, Priestess Desireless, interceded, there would be no room for negotiation. I have never relied on women. I'm here today to fight you. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Instantly, Goddess Miao Yi's face turned pale. She sent a voice transmission to Fang Jingqiang, almost pleading, Kong Teichu, I'm begging you. Just run. Fang Jingqiang is not someone you can afford to offend. Li Longyuan is not someone you can afford to offend. Fang Jingqiang was not just a fake core cultivator. What was even more terrifying was that he had obtained some ancient Dharma artifacts from the mysterious ruins. They could even be used by perfected immortals or fiend celestials. They could be considered immortal artifacts. In terms of cultivation, you're only at the early stage of foundation establishment. The difference between you and others is huge. In terms of foundation, he has the inheritance of an exalted immortal supreme treasure and the technique to summon fiend celestials. How can you be his match? Jiang Tian did not reply. On the bronze warship, Li Hongyu took a few steps forward to the side of the ship. She stood with her arms akimbo and her brows furrowed. She pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded, Kong Teichu, you ant. How dare you kill my brother, Li Liang? You don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll tear you into pieces. Miaoi, get back here. Our desolate border city will not give face to anyone. Chapter 923. Women shouldn't interrupt when men are fighting. Get lost. Jiang Tian said calmly. Boom. A monstrous aura spread out in all directions, and Fairy Miao Yi was instantly pushed hundreds of meters away. Li Hongyu's face was pale from the shock. She staggered a few steps back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fairy Miao Yi's face turned red, and tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt wronged, disappointed, and angry. Today, she could be said to have forsaken her pride to plead for mercy for Jiang Tian. When the news reached the sect, she would even be heavily reprimanded by her master. However, all she got in return was a cold get lost. Jiang Tian smiled faintly, looked at Fang Jingqiang with disdain, and said, You dog, this Jade Well Peak is my, Jiang Taichu's, territory. Who allowed you to bring a group of puppies here and bark wildly? Kowtow and admit your mistake. Boom. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Tian's words. This Kong Teichu was too arrogant. He really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually called Fang Jingqiang a dog. He called the Desolate Border Army dogs. The Desolate Border Army was full of brave and ruthless people. How could they be humiliated like this? Beside the Willow Shade River. It's over now. They're definitely going to fight. The Qiao siblings and the Stinky Monkey looked worried as if they were facing a great enemy. However, they could only be anxious. In a battle of this level, they couldn't help at all. They would be cannon fodder. Sigh, cannon fodder. Yitunren looked calm and even sympathized with Fang Jingqiang. I'm going to find a chance to eat him. This guy's meat is so tough. It should be similar to yak meat. The large black dog was very excited. He grabbed a pack of spicy strips and chewed. Saliva flowed from his mouth, and his eyes were full of anticipation. Chu Yunxiu laughed happily. The Desolate Border Army is here. Fang Jingqiang is here. Kong Teichu still dares to provoke him like this. That bastard is finally dead. She narrowed her eyes and mocked him with disdain. Unfortunately, he still doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth even when death is at hand, and he still dares to speak nonsense, causing Fang Jingqiang to be furious. That's a fake Dan expert we're talking about. I'm afraid that evil bastard will be torn to shreds. Shut up, bitch. At the side, when Jiang Yunhe heard this, his heart was in turmoil as he loudly shouted in anger. Chu Yunxiu retorted with a sneer, Jiang Yunhe, your Jiang clan has no foresight and followed the wrong person. Kong Teichu is but an ant from Earth, an abandoned person from the wasteland. What's laughable is that you all treat him like a god. She held her head high and regained her sense of superiority. Soon you will be finished. How dare you disrespect me? Kneel down and lick my toes. If I'm in a good mood, I might plead for you in front of City Lord Fang. Damn it. While I can still hit you now, I'll beat you up to satisfy my craving. Jiang Yunhe was furious and impatient. He kicked Chu Yunxiu to the ground, raised his fist, and fiercely hammered her. He was having a great time beating her up when suddenly, an enormous pressure like Mount Tai came crashing down on him. It actually sent him flying several meters away. This fiend deserves to die. In the sky, after Jiang Tian's voice fell, the tens of thousands of soldiers of the desolate border army roared in unison and stabbed the poles of their long swords and spears into the ground. Suddenly, an extremely strong killing intent, carrying a bloodthirsty smell, spread across several thousand meters and rolled out like raging waves beating the shore. Rumble! The soldiers and cultivators of Jade Well Peak and Golden Pine Peak were blown into a complete mess. They were like fallen leaves in a gale, powerlessly floating backwards. The entire Jade Well Peak shook violently with creaking sounds, as if it was about to completely collapse. Even Jiang Haishan and a few other elders were forced to stagger back a few steps by the violent pressure, their hearts overwhelmed with shock. Fang Jingqiang was indeed extraordinary. He was good at managing the army. The killing intent and strength of the desolate border army were astonishing. Even if he didn't come personally, he could probably break through Jade Well Peak and Golden Pine Peak, or even sweep through the entire Demon Cave Mountain. However, Jiang Tian, who bore the brunt of it, was like a spring breeze caressing his face. He was calm and collected, and even his clothes were not lifted. Fang Jingqiang's face was ashen. He stared coldly at Jiang Tian and raised his hand. Behind him, the tens of thousands of soldiers immediately stopped shouting. The entire battlefield was restored to a deathly silence and austere. Fang Jingqiang looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of disdain and shouted in a deep voice, Earth's ants are weak like insects, but they are so ignorant and arrogant. Today, I will kill you as a warning to the world, warning the world of the serious consequences of provoking the heavenly star palace. Before he finished speaking, he stepped into the air, like a furious dragon emerging from the sea or a fierce tiger emerging from the dragon. His figure shot into the sky like a heavy cannon. Go to hell. Fang Jingqiang's roar was like a falling jade pillar. His power was endless. He took advantage of the falling momentum and smashed down with the mace in his hand. In a blink, the energy of the city lord was unleashed. The energy of a fake core overlord poured down like a river, suppressing the space within a 10-kilometer radius. On Jade Well Peak, countless towering trees were snapped and toppled in an instant. Huge boulders flew into the air and then crashed down with a loud crash. The next second, they were all crushed and turned into powder under the violent pressure. Countless monsters and creatures within a 12-kilometer radius were startled. Some ran in all directions and some crawled on the ground, trembling. Jiang Haishan and the others couldn't even stand in front of the powerful energy. They were blown back like leaves and almost fell from the sky. As for the transcendent state and immortal state warriors, they couldn't resist at all. Hundreds of martial artists were affected by the powerful attack. They spurted out blood and were seriously injured. Fang Jingqiang only attacked once, but it had the power to destroy cities and mountains, forcing Jiang Haishan and the others to retreat. So powerful. City Lord Fang is so domineering. I'm willing to be his concubine. At the foot of the mountain, Chu Yunxiu laughed crazily and shouted, Kong Teichu, you bastard! How would you know what we're relying on? Fang Jingqiang, you're still too weak. At this moment, Jiang Tian was as still as a rock. He raised his white right hand and flicked his finger. Bang! Jiang Tian's fingers, which were even thinner than a girl's, flicked the mace made of black bronze essence. An astonishing scene appeared. Under Jiang Tian's finger, the spiked club that had once killed countless cultivators was now like tofu. First, a crack appeared on it, and then the cracks spread like a spider web. In the next second, it shattered into pieces. What? Fang Jingqiang only felt that the mace in his hand had shattered. He couldn't help but be shocked and alert. Then, a sharp vital essence shot out from Jiang Tian's fingertip like an arrow and pierced Fang Jingqiang's chest. Block it. Fang Jingqiang dodged and hurriedly retreated like a shooting star. The finger light brushed past the heart protection mirror. Boom! The heart protection mirror released a blazing red light, which turned into a red Qilin phantom. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, trying to block it. But it was useless. Boom! The Qilin phantom was directly shattered by the finger light, turning into streaks of red flowing light and dissipating in the air. There was a sharp sound. A deep mark was left on the heart protection mirror by the finger light, and it burst into dazzling sparks. Fang Jingqiang's body shook violently as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was pale, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fang Jingqiang retreated a few hundred meters before stabilizing himself. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief with a fearful expression. He obtained the mace and armor from the ancient ruin, and they could be considered as numinous treasures. The mace contained the spirit of a wolf, while the bronze armor was protected by the spirit of a Qilin. The Qilin was one of the 9 sons of the true dragon and was an ancient auspicious beast with unbelievable might. But now, the Qilin soul was so scared that it went dormant and refused to come out no matter how he called. The heart protection mirror was scorching hot from a single finger light from Jiang Tian. Its Dao patterns were destroyed and even partially melted. Jiang Tian attacked extremely quickly and many people couldn't see the details clearly. However, they could still see clearly that Fang Jingqiang's mace was shattered and he was sent flying a few hundred meters. Instantly, the entire place fell silent. Everyone was shaken to the core. Waves of shock rose in their hearts. They didn't dare to believe it. How is that possible? Fang Jingqiang is known as the human butcher and has never been defeated. How can he retreat? After a long while, Wu Xiuda, the peak master of Jishui Peak, screamed like a tomcat whose tail was stepped on. Kong Teichu can defeat Fang Jingqiang with a single finger. Many peak masters were dumbfounded and could not believe it. They were so shocked that they could not say a word. How can this ant be so strong? Chu Yunxiu could no longer be excited. Her smile froze on her face and her beautiful eyes were wide open. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked and full of disbelief. They looked at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly as if they had seen a ghost. Fuck, women have long hair and short eyes. He's nothing. If he meets the concealment master, he'll die. Jiang Yunhe shouted and cheered himself on. But Big Brother Jiang is invincible. Beat this villain to death. Xiao Beishan and the Stinky Monkey cheered for Jiang Tian. Immortal Master Jiang is so powerful. He shattered the opponent's mace with a single finger. That's a numinous artifact. It seems that Immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is definitely above the second level of the Foundation establishment realm. Maybe he can turn the tables. Many elders and hall masters of Jinsong Peak were also shocked. Their confidence was greatly boosted and they were so excited that their faces were red. It's not time for the final battle yet. Only Jiang Shanhai's face was still serious. He frowned and said, Fang Jingqiang's demonic art can summon the demon god. That's the most terrifying thing. He didn't use it just now. Kong Teichu, you can actually shatter my bronze mace? You can actually shatter my precious armor. Fang Jingqiang exclaimed in disbelief. At this time, his face was full of fear and he did not dare to underestimate Jiang Tian at all. He thought that Jiang Tian was just a little white rabbit that he could crush easily, but suddenly he became a tyrannosaurus that was ready to devour people at any time. Chapter 9:24. Are you suppressing your power on purpose? Are you also a false core cultivator? Fang Jingqiang scrutinized Jiang Tian carefully. But after a while he shook his head. Impossible. This person couldn't be a false core cultivator. He must have used some kind of elixir or evil art to increase his power by force. He had many secret arts to detect the blood qi of the body, so he was sure that Jiang Tian was no more than 30 years old. There weren't many people who could reach the false core level before 30 in the heavenly star small world, not to mention in the ruins of deity. I can't believe I didn't kill you with one finger. Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and looked disappointed. He shook his head and sighed. You're too lucky. Ant from Earth, don't be so arrogant. Fang Jingqiang was so angry that his lungs almost exploded. Ignorant kid, you don't know how powerful I am. I haven't even used 1/10 of my strength. My 8 arms demon god technique, my magical equipment, can stomp you into meat paste in a matter of seconds. He glared at Jiang Tian with his bell-sized eyes, as if his eyes were about to split open. He pointed at Jiang Tian and roared like a thunderclap. The violent sound waves almost made people's eardrums explode. The blood in their chests was boiling. 8 arms fiend art? What kind of rubbish is that? I've traveled the universe and killed all kinds of fiend gods. Jiang Tian smiled in disdain, looking calm and unhurried. Bring out the altar. Fang Jingqiang shouted. On the ancient bronze chariot of Border City, many soldiers in golden armor pushed out a white bone altar that was 5 meters wide and floated in front of Fang Jingqiang. Retreat. Following Fang Jingqiang's order, the ancient battleships, chariots, and towers backed away like a tide. They only came to a stop 10 li away. Only the war chariot of Border City, where the white bone altar was placed, remained motionless. Many of the desolate border soldiers revealed complicated expressions of fear and fascination. At this moment, Fang Jingqiang's angry expression instantly vanished and revealed a devout and respectful expression. His hands formed ancient and profound hand seals, and his lips moved quickly as he chanted. On top of the huge human bone altar, there was a wooden statue of an 8-armed deity. Countless yellow talisman papers were stuck on it, fluttering in the wind. The talisman paper had numerous curved talisman markings that were shaped like tadpoles or strange snakes, and they were extremely profound and obscure. They were extremely dark red, and they were actually carved with human blood. Fang Jingqiang's mouth didn't move much, but the sky was filled with a loud and obscure devil language. As the demonic chanting became more and more urgent, the ancient worship was filled with black fog that engulfed the surroundings. Demonic qi was overflowing. Gradually, Fang Jingqiang seemed to have established a connection with another world, using himself as a bridge to communicate with the demon god. All of a sudden, a blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar, covering the sky and the sun like a red sunset. It shrouded the huge war chariot and illuminated the area within a radius of 10 miles as if it was dyed in blood. The blood-red light burst out from the white bone altar and shot up to 1,000 feet into the sky. Crackling lightning lingered around it and burst out in all directions. The lightning hit the top of the Jade Well Peak and melted the ice and snow. Even the stones on the peak were turned into dust and rolled down. The lightning surrounded the blood-red light and formed a giant lightning net that moved with a crackling sound. A surge of demonic energy suddenly gathered toward the white bone altar and bombarded the wooden statue. The statue suddenly began to expand and cracks appeared on it. Its aura became stronger and more terrifying. Retreat quickly. He's starting to summon the devil. Everyone retreat quickly. Tai Chu, fellow cultivator, why don't we avoid the attack? Jiang Haishan shouted, and his expression changed drastically. The 8 arms demonic god art was too terrifying. It had the power to destroy the world. Fang Jingqiang had once killed several peak fake core stage overlords by relying on it. Everyone also lost their composure and panicked. They stepped on their flying swords and retreated as fast as shooting stars. Even so, More than a dozen Foundation establishment stage overlords were still struck by the lightning and turned into ashes. Interesting. This world has actually produced demonic creatures before. Are they the ones who invaded the ancient earth? Jiang Tian looked at Fang Jingqiang and the altar with interest. His expression was calm. Although the demonic god was called a god, it was only because it was powerful and had divine powers. Its nature was still that of a devil. Gods were in charge of life and creation, while demons were in charge of death and destruction. In the cultivation world, they were widely distributed and occupied many realms. At this moment, Fang Jingqiang shouted and spat out a mouthful of blood on the wooden statue. Boom! The latter immediately exploded, and an 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god that was hundreds of feet tall suddenly appeared in the void. This demonic god was incomparably tall, like a giant mountain in the sky. Its 8 arms held 8 treasures, including a guqin, a pearl, a bow, an arrow, a skull, a bone, a spear, and a 1,000-layer pagoda. The 4 faces all revealed ferocious expressions as they grinned hideously. Insects from this inferior world, delicious insects, prepare to receive the wrath of the 8-armed great demon god. You can be eaten again. His saliva flowed down like a stream. At the same time, the guqin in his hand turned into rolling demonic sounds and rushed toward Jiang Tian like a raging wave. When everyone saw this, their hearts palpitated, and they found it difficult to breathe. Almost at the same time, everyone felt that their Taoist heart was seriously disturbed by the demonic sounds. They only felt that their inner demons and distracting thoughts were stirring. Young Master Jiang, don't fight. Why do you have to? Why don't you come to my room? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes flashed and her face blushed. Her voice was soft and seductive. Only after she spoke did she realize that she had lost her composure. She was so embarrassed that she quickly bit the tip of her tongue and shouted. She recited the heart-cleansing spell to suppress the demonic thoughts in her heart. Middle-stage and late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators could withstand it, but early-stage Foundation establishment cultivators could not withstand it at all. Come on, young man, let's be embarrassed together. Beside the willow tree, Chu Yunxiu leaned against a bluestone. Her clothes were half undone, and her shoulders were exposed. She giggled and looked at the stinky monkey. The stinky monkey's eyes were dazed, and he staggered over. I've been full of yang qi since I was young. I can indeed do some embarrassing things with my sister. The big black dog ignored him and slapped Chu Yunxiu to the ground. He looked up at the sky and said, "Little hussy, what are you mumbling about? Don't disturb me from watching the show." Insect? In my eyes, you're the insect. Not to mention that you're just an 8-armed demonic god's soul clone. Even if you came personally, I could kill you with a raise of my hand. In the sky above Jade Well Peak, Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water. His eyes were contemptuous as he sneered. This 8-armed demonic god did not belong to this world. It was just a remnant of a soul clone. For thousands of years, it was not nourished by demonic qi. Moreover, it was old and weak, and its soul was weak. It should have died long ago. In order to preserve this demonic god, Fang Jingqiang killed living people every day and sacrificed souls to maintain this demonic god's body. But to be honest, although this demonic god's cultivation was higher, its physique was far inferior to Nieming Yuan's demon body of purgatory. Jiang Tian had at least dozens of methods to kill it in seconds. Ghost transferring god dispatching talisman, demon vanquishing incantation, or directly devouring it with soul devourer's divine sense. Die, vermin. The 8-armed demonic god was furious. Its 4 faces showed ferocious anger, and its 4 mouths roared in unison. Their voices shook the surroundings. Then, it soared into the sky. Its 8 arms grabbed artifacts and danced like an octopus. All kinds of weapons and artifacts smashed toward Jiang Tian. Boom! As soon as it attacked, the whole sky seemed to collapse. Violent demonic qi and energy pushed in all directions. Suddenly, rocks from the surrounding peaks soared into the sky. Then, under the violent pressure, they turned into dust. Even Jade Well Peak began to show cracks like a spiderweb. The mountain trembled violently, and the protective formation seemed to collapse. Even though everyone was 10 miles away, they still felt suffocated and were sent flying in all directions. Evil demonic way! Jiang Tian roared. The sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist jumped wildly, and a flying sword broke through the sky. The speed of this flying sword was incomparably fast. In the blink of an eye, it had reached his neck and circled around his head 4 times. Suddenly, 4 huge heads fell like meteorites. The mountain-like demonic body stiffened in the air. Everyone was shocked. Chu Yunxiu, Wu Xiuda, Li Hongyu, and the others were shocked and fearful. Got it? Yi Tianren, the Qiao siblings, the Stinky Monkey, and Jiang Haishan, who had retreated to Jade Well Peak, were all delighted. But in the next moment, everyone's faces were filled with astonishment. Not bad. The 4 heads that fell in the air sneered. Suddenly they grinned and mocked. But this body is not what you think. Bush, 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 bush. The 4 huge demonic heads flew toward the neck and healed in the blink of an eye. This body is just a statue of a demonic god. Even if you cut off my head 100 times, you can't do anything to me. Boom. He smiled ferociously and stretched out his hand. He grabbed a 300-meter-high mountain and smashed it toward Jiang Tian like a sledgehammer. This scene was too shocking. This demonic god grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon, trying to smash Jiang Tian to death with its surging strength. The mountain was like a cloud in the sky, covering the sky and casting a large shadow on the ground. It weighed more than 10 million tons. When it smashed down, the rocks on it rumbled and rolled down. The 8-armed, 4-faced demonic god attacked. He was indomitable and filled with demonic chi. He grabbed a mountain and used it as a weapon to smash down with the power of heaven and earth. Such a powerhouse could probably tear apart a huge city in 10 breaths of time. Who would dare to stop him? Who could resist? This demonic god is so powerful that it's terrifying. The tens of thousands of people present were shocked. Countless people's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were filled with disbelief. Really? If 100 times is not enough, then 10,000 times. Jiang Tian smiled and patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd. First, 9 flying swords flew out, flashing with cold light and white frost. Suddenly, the silver bottle with surging sword light burst out like water, and the remaining 99,900 and 9,900 flying swords burst out. The flying swords flew across the sky. 1 sword was in front, followed by 2 swords. Then there were 4 swords, 8 swords, and 16 swords. The more flying swords there were, the larger the sword formation became. The whole formation was a huge cone with a radius of 1 mile. The tips of the swords spun rapidly, and thousands of cold light shone over several miles, forming a huge drill sword style. With a bang, it was like a tsunami. Thousands of flying swords covered the sky and the sun. They were invincible and pierced toward the 8-armed demonic god and the mountain. At this moment, everyone looked at Jiang Tian in horror. They felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and cold sweat covered their backs. Chapter 9:25. Tens of thousands of flying swords surged like a tide, crossing the sky like a heavenly river. Everyone was dumbfounded. What kind of cultivation does this kid have? Many people's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. The tens of thousands of people present were dumbfounded. The desolate wilderness soldiers were scared out of their wits. Even Fang Jingqiang was stunned, cold sweat crawling up his back. This scene was too shocking. Jiang Tian was controlling 10,000 flying swords in one breath. It was too frightening. Each flying sword emitted a metallic luster, condensed and sharp, bursting with sword radiance. Such heavy flying swords made of special metals, such vast sword chi, such an astonishing number. Jiang Tian's vital essence was surging and vigorous. Fakor? He might not even have reached the golden core realm. Then give it a try, vermin. The 8-armed demon god roared. His 4 thick arms swung the huge mountain peak and collided with the flying swords. Suddenly, bang bang bang. Flames splashed in the sky and huge rocks flew. The mountain peak trembled violently with smoke and dust billowing. Even though the 8-armed demon god had a special physique and infinite strength, he could not bear it. Ouch, 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 ouch. The 8-armed demon god looked up to the sky and cried out in pain. His 4 arms were bleeding and his skin was torn open. In the end, he abandoned many of his weapons and grabbed the mountain peak with his 8 arms to stabilize himself. However, his arms were still in pain and numb from the shock. Suddenly, the 8-armed demon god felt his arms lighten. Many flying swords had pierced through the mountain peak, flickering with a vicious cold light. They were like a school of shining fish in the deep sea, densely packed and spinning, drilling into his chest. Damn it! Endless heavenly demon! The 8-armed demon god was shocked. He roared like a thunderclap, and his demonic chi and energy surged. Boom, boom, boom. The air trembled as black demonic chi broke through the clouds. He stretched out all 8 of his arms, punching, grabbing, pushing, and crossing his arms in an attempt to block the many-sword chis. Bang, bang, bang. First, the demon god's thick palms and arms broke off inch by inch. Then, a flying sword continued to rush forward and drilled into his chest. Suddenly, blood gushed out like a tide, and red flesh rained down. Devil chi mixed with white broken bones shot out in all directions like arrows. Huff! The tens of thousands of flying swords disappeared into its stomach. The 8-armed demon god stood motionlessly in the air. The entire place was deathly silent. Everyone felt as if they were dreaming, unable to regain their senses for a long time. The 8-armed demonic god, using a mountain peak as a weapon, and tens of thousands of flying swords streaking across the sky. Everything that had happened today was too shocking. Then chi. Tens of thousands of sharp flying swords shot out from all parts of the 8-armed demon god's body in a bloody mist and shot in all directions. These flying swords were personally designed by Jiang Tian. When Xiao Beishan and the others were forging them, Jiang Tian supervised and guided the entire process. They were all engraved with many profound runes that contained powerful magic power. Every time the sharp sword pierced through and flew out, it would take away a large amount of the 8-armed demon god's blood essence, energy, mana, and even mental energy. The 8-armed demon god's body was instantly riddled with holes like a sieve. Devil chi and blood flowed out uncontrollably. His body began to collapse inch by inch. He muttered gloomily, "This kid is so strong. The energy of this doppelganger has been used up. Demon summoner, you deal with him yourself. I've disappeared." Then his body exploded with a bang. Even his consciousness and devil chi disappeared in the air. Bush, bush, bush. Tens of thousands of swords streaked across the sky like silver fish and flew back into Jiang Tian's sky-devouring demonic gourd. "What? Great demon god, don't go. Help me." Fang Jingxiang's face was full of disbelief. He panicked and shouted loudly, constantly chanting the demon language. But unfortunately, no matter what he did, the white bone altar remained motionless. The 8-armed demon god never appeared again. At this time, everyone was shocked. At this moment, the scene was so quiet that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their faces were full of shock and disbelief. An ant from Earth, a second-level Foundation establishment cultivator, was able to defeat the almighty demon god. Even if it was only a doppelganger of his divine soul, it still made people feel as if they were dreaming. It was unbelievable. That's impossible. Wu Xiuda's face was pale. He frowned and said with a trembling voice, "He's just a lowly person from Earth. How could he defeat the demon god? Is Kong Teichu really that powerful? Does he really have the combat ability of a fake core cultivator?" The other peak masters who had surrendered changed their expressions. For the first time, they doubted whether their decision was right. He must have taken some elixirs to forcefully increase his cultivation level. It can't last long. He can't hold on much longer. Chu Yunxiu was greatly shocked. Her face was pale and her eyes were crazy. She tried to comfort herself. Could it be that I've underestimated him? Did Master make a mistake? Does he have the ability to defeat Fang Jingxiang and the border army? Fairy Miao Yi's eyes were also wide open. Her face was full of disbelief, as if she had met Jiang Tian for the first time. However, Lianren glanced at the chariots with a solemn expression and said, "That's right. I'm afraid Fang Jingqiang is going to give it his all. His advantage lies in his 10,000 soldiers." A city lord like Fang Jingqiang was actually far less powerful than those top sect masters. However, why was he able to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, speak as equals, dominate an area, intimidate the desolate border? It was because of his 10,000 soldiers and the strength of numbers. It was because of the many buildings, chariots, armors, heavy cannons, crossbows and other powerful Dharma artifacts. Sure enough, Fang Jingqiang's face was full of murderous intent. He raised his hand and shouted, "Good men of the border, listen to my order. All troops, advance and kill this bastard for me. I'll reward you handsomely. Good men, for the sake of justice, kill the enemy. Today we'll eliminate the evil and protect the heavenly star small world together." Li Hongyu pointed her slender finger at Jiang Tian and shouted. At this time, the woman had changed into a military uniform. She was wearing golden armor and a golden helmet, and the peacock plume on her head was swaying. The armor was very fitting, making her waist slim and her chest high. It also made her look valiant and high-spirited. She was not inferior to men. She walked to a huge war drum and took the drumstick from the soldier's hand. Don't. She was originally from a brothel. She was beautiful and talented. She danced gracefully while beating the drum, and the rhythm was extremely moving. For the vicissitudes of justice. Countless soldiers of the border roared together and beat the war drum. They drove the chariots, warships, and buildings to crush Jiang Tian. Many chariots, battleships, and cloud towers covered the sky. The power alchemy furnaces took in and spat out huge amounts of spiritual energy, crushing the air and emitting endless golden light. They quickly flew over and suppressed Jiang Tian. Ha, good. This is the power of the border army. Even a fake core cultivator will be crushed into meat paste. Seeing this scene, Chu Yunxiu was shocked and fascinated. She regained her confidence and looked at Jiang Tian in the sky as if he were an ant. Tai Chu, retreat to the protective array. They have thunder cannons. They have heaven-shaking crossbows. Jiang Haishan's expression changed drastically. He ordered people to activate the protective arrays and sent a message to Jiang Tian. It's over. The army is going to move out. This barren city is too ruthless. At this time, in the fortifications of the Jade Well Peak, the leader of the booming Skyge mercenaries was as pale as paper. He was so scared that his legs were shaking. The booming Sky mercenaries were one of the top mercenary groups in the Demon Cave Mountain. They were made up of more than 100 late-stage Qi refinement and immortal state warriors. They had a brilliant record and rich combat experience. This time, he was invited by Jiang Haishan to fight side by side with Jin Songfeng of the Jade Well Peak. But at this moment, they were as vulnerable as ants compared to the regular army of the border. They're serious. I shouldn't have taken this job. The leader of the Flying Rainbow Bounty, the hunters were also shocked and regretted it so much that he almost cried. The army moved out and the giant bronze warships flew across the sky. Thousands of cannons were fired at the same time. Who could withstand such an attack? At the front of the border army, 50 bronze warships took the lead. When they were 5 kilometers away from Jiang Tian, they suddenly turned sideways and aimed at Jiang Tian and the Jade Well Peak. The windows on one side opened, revealing many bronze warships. Instantly, a myriad of cannons rang out, and many cannonballs that were shrouded in electromagnetic lightning shot toward Jiang Tian. On the 100 chariots behind the battleship, 1,000 divine realm warriors pulled their crossbows to the fullest. Frick, 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 screech, screech. In the next moment, as the bowstring that was flashing with golden light vibrated and bounced back, huge arrows that were like long spears shot up into the sky, drawing a perfect parabola in the air. They were as fast as flowing lights and as dense as raindrops, shooting heavily towards Jiang Tian. These arrows were engraved with many patterns and had powerful Dharma powers. Each of them was a Dharma treasure and could penetrate an immortal state warrior or a late-stage chi refinement cultivator. Moreover, there were tens of thousands of them. Even a golden core cultivator would be exhausted to death. And above the 10 towers at the back, there were 300 cultivators. They were all at the foundation establishment level, and there were many late-stage foundation establishment cultivators among them. There were men and women, old and young. They were all dressed differently, but all of them were serious and had extraordinary backgrounds. Some came from sects and sacred grounds, some were experienced itinerant cultivators who practiced evil arts, and some came from rich families and large families. The 10 towers were taller than the warships and chariots. They were as steep as mountains and were at the back. There were many powerful cultivators gathered, and it was the place to launch a strategic attack. This was the killing weapon of the border army. Every one of them had an extraordinary background. They were the reinforcements that Fang Jingqiang had hired with a lot of money. One of them could fight against 1,000 overlords. Li Jiang sword art. In one of the towers, a young cultivator in a blue robe made a gesture with his right hand. A flying sword of the quasi-spirit treasure level jumped out from behind him. The sword light was like frost and the moon, illuminating a few hundred meters. It struck towards Jiang Tian like lightning. This monster from Earth is so powerful. An old monk with the energy of an old turtle sat on the top of a tower surrounded by golden Buddha light. He opened his eyes and let out a sigh. Chapter 926. The old monk was Master Yuan Jing of the Prajna Temple. On this continent, the Prajna Temple was second only to the demon-subduing temple among the Buddhist forces. On the heavenly law ranking, Master Yuan Jing was ranked in the top 30. He was not far from Ding Lai, Miu, and the others. His battle prowess was almost on par with Fang Jingqiang. Taoist graphite was not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Today, he had accepted Fang Jingqiang's invitation and brought 30 Foundation Establishment Realm disciples to assist him in slaying Jiang Tian. Freedom Prajna art. Buddhist handprint. Die for this poor monk. At this moment, Master Yuan Jing suddenly opened his eyes and pushed out 100-meter-long golden palm from the sky. 10,000 snakes. Let the little kid on earth know how powerful the snake sect is. There was also a seductive woman in red standing on top of a building. Her skin was fair, her chest was high, and her slender waist was very attractive. Her earrings kept twisting. If one looked closely, they were actually small colorful snakes. Under her command, red, green, and white mutated snakes flapped their fleshy wings and shot towards Jiang Tian like whistling arrows from the woods and meadows within 3 miles of the Jade Well Peak. She was the sect master of the snake sect, someone who wasn't inferior to the peak lords of the main peaks in the Demon Cave Mountain. Later, she was conquered by Fang Jingqiang and became his disciple, living in a barren city. In this wave of attack, battleships, chariots, and buildings moved together. Tens of thousands of overlords attacked Jiang Tian together. Their Dharma treasures covered the sky and sword auras were everywhere, attacking from all directions. It could be said to be an inescapable net. There was no chance for him to dodge at all. Why isn't Tai Chu dodging? I'm afraid even a sect master like Miu wouldn't be able to block it. Seeing this, Jiang Haishan's heart skipped a beat, as if he had fallen into an abyss. He definitely can't block it. Even my master can't block it. He's going to die. Fairy Miao Yi's face was pale and her head was buzzing. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears and she was about to cry. This time, he'll definitely die. The corners of Chu Yunxiu's mouth twitched crazily, her eyes feverish. Even more people were dumbfounded. Their mouths were wide open, but they couldn't make a single sound. Such an attack was like a raging wave that swept through the world like a hurricane, and it destroyed everything in its path. This kind of destructive power was simply too terrifying. Not even a false core cultivator could withstand a single strike. It could destroy cities and sects in an instant. This was the strength of the regular army of the cultivation world. All kinds of demons and ghosts had to submit to him. Perhaps only those in the later stage of the Golden Core realm could survive. Fang Jingqiang, Is this your trump card? I'm so disappointed. But when faced with the surging pressure, Jiang Tian seemed as if a cool breeze had brushed past his face, and his expression was indifferent and calm like an ancient well without ripples. Seal. Following Jiang Tian's soft shout, a surge of golden seal energy soared into the sky. With him as the center, it exploded in an instant and swept in all directions, pushing the 9 heavens and 10 earths crazily. The boundless seal energy seemed to be endless and kept pushing forward. In the end, with Jiang Tian as the center, a huge golden ball with a radius of half a mile burst out. And within this golden sphere of restriction, numerous spear-like arrows, numerous flying swords, numerous magic treasures. All of them were suspended in the air in astonishment, motionless. Even the thunderbolt cannonballs, which were known for their fierceness and violence, were frozen there. Those thunderbolts were still in a threatening posture, but they couldn't move forward at all. Even the tens of thousands of colorful and gorgeous mutated poisonous snakes were suspended in the air with dumbfounded looks in their eyes. They even opened their bloody mouths and spat out their scarlet forked tongues, maintaining the posture of flapping their wings and flying away. Hiss! In an instant, everyone at the scene gasped and was dumbfounded as if they had seen a ghost. How is this possible? The eyes of tens of thousands of soldiers almost popped out, and they were so scared that their weapons fell to the ground. At this time, Jiang Tian was using a real immortal magic art, not some true essence or aura. This golden ball was full of golden light, and runes were floating on it. It was magnificent and extremely tough. Even if a golden core cultivator attacked with all his strength, he might not be able to break it. Isn't he an ant on Earth? How can he be proficient in such a perfected immortal magic art? Seeing this, Wu Xiaodar exclaimed. He had also felt the power of Jiang Tian's seal. It was able to freeze his black water saber art in an instant. At that time, he was already shocked. But he didn't expect that Jiang Tian's seal was 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times more powerful than before. Where did he come from? Is he the reincarnation of the old devil? Li Hongyu was so scared that her face turned pale and she almost peed on the spot. The drumstick fell on her foot, and she grimaced in pain. These battleships, cloud towers, chariots, and Dharma artifacts were all from the ruins of an ancient battlefield. They contained surging power and had surpassed the current level of crafting in the heavenly star small world. But they couldn't kill Jiang Tian. All the attacks were blocked by Jiang Tian. It was simply too shocking. This bastard is so powerful. Chu Yunxiu was also shocked. Her face was as pale as paper, and she was dumbfounded. Cold sweat poured down her face as if she had seen a ghost. What are you waiting for? Kill him again. I don't believe we can't kill him. Fang Jingqiang stood on the desolate border's bronze chariot's head, roaring like a wild beast. Many soldiers looked up and couldn't help but be frightened. They saw that Jiang Tian had already rushed to the sky. He stepped in the air and rushed towards everyone like a ray of light. He walked in the air, and the 9 main flying swords circled around him. They turned into a ray of light that shot to the sky and attacked everyone. As for the golden ball, it was controlled by Jiang Tian's invisible spiritual power and floated behind him. Attack! The fear in the hearts of many soldiers of the barren city turned into sharp murderous intent. They activated their Dharma artifacts again. But Jiang Tian didn't give them a chance. It was all too late. Jiang Tian's 9 flying swords, under the control of his immortal will, suddenly merged into a 10-meter-long giant flying sword and swept across the sky. Instantly, a 3,000-meter-long giant sword light swept across the sky. It was extremely dazzling. This sword light was extremely dazzling. At this moment, there seemed to be nothing else in the world except for this sword. The sword light seemed to be able to sweep across the 9 heavens and 10 earths, suppressing all the heavens and carrying the supreme majesty. It was engraved with countless runes and talismans, and it contained endless vital essence. It was vast, surging, and extremely sharp. It swept across and nothing could stop it. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Many bronze battleships, which could withstand nuclear explosions, were slashed by the sword light as if they were made of mud. If time stopped at this moment, people would find that the cross-sections of the bronze as thick as city walls were as smooth as mirrors and could even reflect the scenery. The sword light moved forward without any hindrance. In just a second, it went from left to right and swept across 50 ancient battleships. Countless immortal state warriors and cultivators, including those at the peak stage of the Qi refinement realm and the foundation establishment level, couldn't withstand it. Many people were cut in half at the waist. Blood gushed out like tides and their bodies fell to the ground silently. Jiang Tian's sword had killed 1,000 people. On the battleships, some cultivators who were lucky enough to survive were covered in cold sweat. They hurried to escape on small flying swords, boats and other small flying Dharma artifacts. Son of a bitch. Go and eat. Jiang Tian smiled. He's here, master. The old dragon stood up and transformed into the true form of a purple-gold true dragon. Then he soared into the sky. He was over 300 meters long, and his dragon scales flickered with an intimidating cold light. He opened his mountain-like mouth and sucked in a breath. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many cultivators and martial artists were swallowed into his stomach amidst their screams and wails. Fresh. The cultivators of the heavenly star small world are indeed different. They're so chewy. He held a 1-meter-long spicy strip in one of his front paws and swung the other claws quickly. He grabbed a person and stuffed him into his mouth, chewing and swallowing loudly while praising loudly. Then, the broken runes, reaction power furnaces, and magical equipment on the battleship exploded uncontrollably. The enormous energy and magical power contained in them exploded uncontrollably. Boom, boom. The earth-shattering explosions were heavy and shocking. A series of incomparably dazzling flames lit up as if a series of supernova explosions had occurred. Violent energy swept out in all directions, causing the earth to tremble and mountains to tremble. Even the void was annihilated. And this earth-shattering explosion was only the first note of Jiang Tian's high-spirited battle song. The old dragon was blown hundreds of meters away by the violent airwaves and fell into a mountain with a boom. A moment later, he flew out unsteadily as if he were drunk. He looked at the shattered cultivators in his claws and said gloomily, "They're not tasty anymore." When Jiang Tian took the second step, he was thousands of meters away in a flash. He was like an awe-inspiring god of war, hovering above the largest ancient battleship. Both of his hands pushed out a vast amount of zhenyuan, holding a sword and slashing down with all his might. "You can't kill me, ant from earth!" Fang Jingqiang roared angrily. The blood in his body surged and his body expanded to 20 meters in an instant. He held the azure dragon flaming saber in his hand and blocked the attack. At the same time, he took out a bronze mirror that floated above his head. It emitted endless light and formed a golden shield that completely enveloped him. The runes on his armor flickered and flickered. 7 or 8 protective Dharma treasures, including jade pendants, waist tags, necklaces and even spirit treasures, surged with Dharma powers and bloomed with colorful lights. In an instant, strange phenomena appeared. Fang Jingqiang used all his cultivation and many Dharma treasures to block Jiang Tian's attack. But under Jiang Tian's stunning attack, all resistance and resistance were useless. You're tuning into the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.